Okay, zoning board, we are live. We are recording. Phone lines are open. Go for it.
Thank you, Matt. And welcome everyone to the Town of East Hampton Zoning Board of Appeals meeting for January 24th, 2023. We have a number of public hearings this evening, so let's get started. I'll read the first one into the record. The first applicant is Dominic DeLiva at 305 Shore Road, Narragansett, Suffolk, tax map number 300-84-3-11. The size and location is 1,998 square feet at 305 Shore Road, Narragansett. The description is to allow an approximately 32 square foot roof deck extension and approximately 250 square foot brick and stone patio to remain within side yard and rear yard lot line setbacks and beyond the allowable total lot coverage. The relief sought is 4 variances are required for this application. One variance of 7.3 feet is required from 255-1110 of the town code to allow the existing brick patio to remain 0.7 feet from the side yard lot line, where an 8-foot setback is required. 2 variances of 4.2 and 2.7 feet are required from 255-1110 of the town code to allow the brick patio to remain 3.8 feet and wood decking to remain 5.3 feet from the rear yard lot line where 8-foot setbacks are required. One variance of 228 square feet is required from 255-1110 of the town code to allow the property to remain with a total lot coverage of 1,227 square feet, where 999 square feet is the maximum allowable, and any other relief necessary. The zoning district is B residence, Zone X flood zone, and the secret class is type 2. And council, do we have proper affidavit of service and posting?
We do. Pursuant to section 255-9-23 of the Town of East Hampton Code, we do have both mailings and posting for the property done on January 11th, 2023, which is 10 days prior to this hearing.
Thank you. I believe Member McGivern has this one.
And there's the posting for the property, and that's the frontal view of the property and the driveway leading up to it. Next. That's looking towards Shore Road, I think. Next. That's looking in the other direction. Next. Now I started to walk around the property, so I'm going to the right. Next. That's the wood decking in the front, and I tried to capture some of the vegetation. And the brick patio is right to the left of the picture. You can see it beyond the wood decking. Next. That's a bigger picture, or a sort of view of the brick patio and the decking that leads up to the next. Now I'm going around the house. You can still see some of the brick patio, and there are sort of concrete squares that go around the property. Next. That's the view from the deck. Nice view, except for the telephone poles. View from the deck. I'm looking down at the brick patio now from the deck. Next. That's around the other side of the house. Next, opposite the brick patio. I think that's just the corner of the house. The corner behind it. Next. And that should be it.
Thank you, Joan. Any questions for Joan? Good evening, Joel.
Good evening, Chairman Deline and the board members, other board members. Joel Halsey on behalf of Lighthouse Land Planning, representing Dominic DeLiva, the property owner.
Do you swear affirm to tell the truth,
I
Joel?
forgot.
The whole truth and nothing but the truth?
I do.
And are you traveling north this weekend with the white snow?
Of course I will be. I can't stop that. I will be representing Dominic DeLiva, the property owner of 305 Shore Road. I did submit a memo to the board Tuesday of last week, and I trust that you've all had time to review this memo. As per my memo, although this application on its face appears to require significant relief, when taken into context of the structure, the relief sought is not significant. Starting off with the second story deck, I included a roof deck plan with my submission entitled Exhibit 1. When it came time to building the deck, the contractor determined that the existing roof was not structurally sound enough to handle a roof deck considering the wind loads within this area. And obviously that's understandable by pretty much anybody who lives around here. The wind loads are pretty strong, and installing a deck right on top of the roof with any additional support would probably rip the deck off and probably rip most of the roof off as well under some strong winds. Therefore, the deck was extended approximately 8 inches west and south beyond what was approved. This made it possible to add support columns to the deck. As per the picture titled Exhibit 2, the deck does not extend beyond the eave of the house. And as Member McGivern had, I think it was one of the final pictures, you could see the roof deck was definitely not extending past the eaves of the house in that picture as well. The relief approved in the previous application was a 2-foot variance for the roof deck to be 6 feet from the rear yard property line. The current relief sought is 8.4 inches closer to that property line. Dominic DeLiva currently owns the property to the north, which is the most directly affected property by the variance request. Within the technical analysis memo dated December 15th, 2022, the planner states, with the property having received a split ZBA approval in 1992, the ZBA may want to reference the earlier determination when discussing the current application. The dissension in that split decision, which I always thought a split decision was a denial, but I'm not quite sure exactly what happened back in 1992, was the dissension was for the deck along the front of the property. It was this green line there, and we are planning on cutting that off so the deck does appear how it was approved in 1992. With regards to the remaining 3 variances, it is my contention that these variances are not required. We did apply for them anyway, being that this was required to complete the ZBA application and schedule for a public hearing. As I believe the board is aware, at one time, the East Hampton town did not consider brick and sand patios structures. Therefore, they did not require building permits, did not have to meet setbacks, nor were they counted as coverage. It is a fact that surveyors were not required to show brick and sand patios on surveys. I've confirmed the aforementioned statements with the town planning department and the current surveyor on the project. Furthermore, the surveyor stated to me that he remembers that in the 90s, they did not pick up brick and sand patios for survey work. It was not until the early 2000s that he remembers being required to locate brick and sand patios. We are not able to determine the date the patio was installed by looking at the pictures that I had submitted in exhibits 4 and 5, it is pretty obvious that the patios most likely date pre-2000s, the pre-2000s. The current owner does own multiple properties within this area, including the property directly across the street. He knew the previous owner and bought it directly from the family in 2017. He remembers his decking being there for many decades. The planning department can trace the patio back to 2001, and at this point, you kind of have to give the benefit of the doubt to the property owner and believe that the brick and sand patio was legally installed per town policies in place at the time. Unfortunately, I believe the brick and sand patio rule may come back before the board many times over the next few years, as I know of a couple of properties that have brick and sand patios that did not appear on COs back in the day, but now they're shown on current surveys. I hope it's not going to be too much of an issue over the next few years, but it might be. In conclusion, as stated, although this application on its face appears to require significant relief, you are only granting relief for one structure built 8.4 inches too big, which does not extend past the eaves of the house. The other 3 variance requests are for legally built structures that do not comply with zoning today. I did receive an email from the neighbor to the east who has no objection. I'll submit a copy to the record. I don't know if a copy was submitted to the.
Is that Mr. Grimaldi? Is that Grimaldi? Yeah, we got that.
I think,
Yeah, we
yeah, I
got it.
think,
Yeah, we have it.
Hold on my paper. I'm
Right
not going to
here.
bother reading to the file either, if you all have it on your file and you've seen it already. Thank you for taking your time and reviewing this application. We do believe that this project meets the variance standards of the town code. And I did outline my reasoning in the memo I submitted last week. If the board has any questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
Anybody have any questions for Joel?
Okay,
Thank you.
have a great evening. Oh,
We go to the planning department now. How are you, Tyler?
Good evening, Tyler Borsak for the Planning Department.
Tyler, do you swear affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you.
So this parcel is located near the western terminus of Shore Road in the Lazy Point area of Amagansett. The property is located in an environmentally sensitive area, but the parcel itself has limited protected features with only a small amount of beach vegetation north of the existing residence. The project before the Zoning Board of Appeals in the current application is to allow an existing brick and sand patio to remain within side and rear yard lot line setbacks, as well as to allow the roof deck to remain as constructed, slightly larger than it was approved by the ZBA in 1992. The project also includes a slight reduction in the decking on the north side of the residence in order to conform to the 1992 ZBA approval, and also to allow the parcel to remain 228 square feet over the maximum allowable total lot coverage. It's worth noting that since this parcel is only 50 feet wide and 40 feet in depth, it is non-conforming to minimum lot width for A zoning. It receives both relief from both 255-143-D1, which is the 4/10 rule, as well as 255-143-D2, which is the 2/10 rule. With a lot width of only 50 feet, the required side yard setbacks utilizing the 4/10 rule are 8 feet. And with a depth of only 40 feet, the required rear yard lot line setback utilizing the 2/10 rule is also 8 feet. With such a small lot area, most of the structures are with such a small lot area, most of the structures are within even the reduced side, rear, or front yard lot line setbacks on this property. In an area characterized by smaller non-conforming properties, subject parcel stands out as one of the smallest properties in the entire town of East Hampton. While the structures seeking relief are small, the equally small size of the property creates difficult constraints on any construction on the property, which has resulted in fairly significant setback relief requests. Certainly, the small size of the property is a unique circumstance that requires careful planning, and the zoning board should discuss how much relief should be granted given the property's history and the challenges associated with a small parcel. The board may also want to consider if there's any significant mitigation that could be utilized to limit the impacts of these structures on neighboring properties. However, being such a small property, the value of any possible mitigation is limited. Other than that, I can answer any questions that you might have.
Questions for Tyler?
Yeah, about the brick and sand patio. So we've got testimony that it goes back to approximately 2001 based on aerial photos. We don't have anything else that we can go back and find it in the early 90s.
No, well, the arrows we have from the 90s, it's impossible to see something at that kind of detail, especially brick and sand. It's barely visible even on like 2001 aerials.
Yeah.
But you can see that there's something there in 2001.
Yeah.
So it certainly is likely that it's older than 2001, but we just don't have enough evidence to say, yes, we've seen it at this date.
Yeah.
Okay, when was the code changed?
As far as brick and sand,
Yeah.
I
don't think it was a code. It was more of a building department policy to
Right.
determine, to consider it a structure.
It was just essentially not
Consider it a
required to
structure
be on COs or, get building permits prior to
So we don't know when that
mid
changed.
2000s, maybe. I really, it's hard to even put a date on it.
Okay, and with them reconstructing the patio, the deck rather, that was approved, that still leaves them at the 227 overage in the lot coverage?
The 220 square feet over would be what it is with that
In the
reduction.
right place.
Right.
Oh, okay. And then today that includes the brick and sand or doesn't? No.
It does now.
Does include
Yeah,
that.
yeah.
Okay.
Anybody else have any
Sorry,
questions?
I didn't follow what you just said.
The total coverage numbers includes the brick patio
Oh, it does.
today. Yeah.
Okay.
Any other questions?
No.
Darla?
Yeah.
Thank you.
No, thank you, Tyler. Is there anybody in the public that would like to address this application? Matt, anybody on the phone?
You have 0 callers. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Joan, would you like to close it out?
In the matter of Dominic Delva, 305 Shore Road, Amagansett, Suffolk County Tax Map Number 300-0884-03-11, I make a motion to close the public hearing record. Close the public hearing and the record.
I'll second that.
I concur.
I concur.
I concur as well. Thank you. Thank you, Joel. Next, we have revocable trust of Robert E. Isaacson at 233 Gerard Drive in Springs. The size and location is 11,692 square feet at 233 Gerard Drive, Cape Gardner, Block C, Lot number 15, map number 1192 in Springs. The description is to demolish the existing one-story residence with associated structures and to construct a new 1,923 square foot, two-story residence with 187 square foot wood deck, 44 square feet of balcony, new sanitary system, storage and shower under the residence, clearing, regrading, and new driveway within jurisdiction of wetlands, beach vegetation, and beaches, and outside of the town's pyramid regulations. The relief sought is a natural resources special permit pursuant to 255-420 of the East Hampton Town, and 9 variances are required for this application. 2 variances of 67 and 64 feet are required from 255-430 of the Town Code to construct the residence 33 feet and decking 36 feet from the edge of the wetlands where 100-foot setbacks are required. 2 variances of 31 and 39 feet are required from 255-440 of the Town Code to construct a residence 44 feet and a decking 36 feet from the edge of beach where 75 feet setbacks are required. 1 variance of 159 feet is required from 255-375B1 to construct a sanitary system 41 feet from wetlands where 200 foot setback is required. 1 variance of 2 feet is required from 255-375B2 of the Town Code to construct the sanitary system with a 2-foot separation to groundwater where 4-foot separation is required. 1 variance of 30 feet is required from 255-430 of the Town Code to clear vegetation 20 feet from the edge of wetlands where 50-foot setbacks is required. 2 variances of 9 feet are required from 255-1172D of the Town Code to construct a residence 9 feet out of the town's pyramid regulation along the northern and southern lot lines and any other relief necessary. The zoning district is A2 residence, AE zone, elevation 10, and the secret class is type 2. Council, do we have proper affidavit of service and posting?
We do pursuant to the Town of East Hampton Code, Section 255-9-23. We have a certified mailing performed on January 14th and a posting performed on January 13th, 2023, 10 days prior to today's hearing.
Thank you. And Member Savarese, I believe this is your.
Yes, it is.
application.
Thank you. I first want to make a note that the property wasn't posted when I did go. I wanted to put that on the record. I do also want to say it is the responsibility of the agent or applicant to maintain that signage so that the community is aware. That's why we're here tonight, for the public. This is a picture of the, I'm facing east. And this is just a picture of the residence in question tonight. Next, please. This is also, this is the driveway. This whole area has been cleared. Next, please. Another shot, as you can see, the house is, in disrepair, and they're trying to bring it up to code. This shows the southern property line in the east and actually going towards Gardner's Bay. This is also, I'm in the driveway area, these aren't in order, but this was just an example of the wetlands and the vegetation that exists on the site. Now I am standing on the shoreline. I'm looking west. I guess you would consider this the front yard because it's facing Gardner's Bay. But I'm literally standing on the shoreline. So this house is, you know, very close to the shoreline. Next, please. Just an example of another picture and the condition of the house as it exists now. This is just a picture of what you see in the backyard. This is a beautiful picture. Just another photo of the building as it exists now. This I took, this is also, this would be, I'm looking west, just to, in the front of the house by the shoreline. Just wanted to give you an example of the vegetation that exists there. This is just another shot of the house. As you can see, it's in disrepair. I don't think anybody has been there for quite a while. This is under the house, what they're using as a well, or were using as a well. I travel this area quite often, and it doesn't appear anybody has really been in the house for a long time. There is town water available in this area, but not by this property. Next, please. These are examples I gave. I wanted the board to get a general sense of, these are houses that exist to the north of the property. And if you zoom in, you can see that portions of that decking, I mean, it practically is in the water, is being held up by metal rods.
This is the property to the.
This is actually, this is like a couple of houses down to the north. Just wanted to give you a sense of the community. And this is again, another example, same house. This is a picture that literally is showing the septic rings, which you can see are exposed. This is a different house, but again, a few houses down to the north. Another house to the north. Very, you know, as you can see, they're almost in the water. Next, please. And this is another, the same house that showed the septic rings that were exposed. On the same house, this is actually showing the holding tank. And again, these are like a couple of houses down toward the north. This is in the community. Just another example, same area. Shot of the water. Next. Another picture of the septic ring and the holding tank, a couple of houses down. Thought there was also, they are on the west side. I thought there was a photo I sent, but I guess it wasn't in there. There is a community preserve on the west side of Girard Drive, which would be right across the street from the property before us. So that is my field inspection.
Thank you. Hi, Rick. Come on up. How are
Good
you?
evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. Richard Whalen, I'm the attorney for the applicant. The applicant is a revocable trust, but it's a real person, Robert Isaacson, and he's second from the right there, red shirt, with friends. And also on the far right is the architect who's here tonight as well, Paul Capis, in case there are any questions that I can't answer. Hopefully Paul will be able to do that. So as the chairman stated, the purpose of the application is to demolish an existing one-story house that, as member Savarese pointed out, is right on the bay, basically right on the Bay Beach there on Gardner's Bay. We're on Cape Gardner, just a little bit south of the South Causeway. The existing house has a GFA. I want to correct this. We sent a letter to you this week with an amended application. The GFA of the house is actually 822 square feet. When the application was processed earlier, submitted originally, we had that down as 944 square feet. And when we were looking at revising this, we realized the original calculation was including the roofed porch on the seaward side of the house. So to clarify, the GFA of the existing house is 822 square feet. The building footprint, though, is still 944 square feet. We would replace it with a two-story residence with a GFA of 1,284 square feet. Still same footprint, a building footprint of 944 square feet. That would be a two-story residence. The photos that Member Savory showed indicate there are a cluster of 9 homes directly south of the South Causeway on the Gardens Bay side of Gerard Drive, which are all very either on or very close, some of them on, very close to the Bay Beach. The two in particular that Member Savory said are the first and the second house south of the South Causeway. So in this grouping of 9 residences, we would be the first one to actually pull back in a meaningful way from the coast. I think we're maybe number 7 in that row. So it would be the first house of that group. A couple of them, I suppose, can't really move landward, but we would be the first to actually voluntarily, retract landward and build a new house in a more landward location. So hopefully that would be a good precedent for the board to establish.
So I'm sorry, not to interrupt, because we've just gotten all this information. How far back from what was originally proposed would you be now from the shoreline?
Right
'Cause
now, we're
wouldn't
about
you
now.
interfere with the septic system?
We're building a whole new septic.
Oh,
We're building a whole
okay.
new septic. So I may refer to the coastal setback. We don't have a dune here. There's no primary dune because there's literally no dune. In the absence of a dune, you measure your setback from the inland edge to the beach. So we're measuring for the beach. The current house is about, the scattered vegetation, as Denise indicated in the photos. We're about 6 feet back from the beach. And the house itself will move back to, is it 56 feet? Let me just check. I think at 56, I think is the measurement, will be the new measurement
Back
from the
from the
beach
shoreline.
to the new residence. Now there's a 10-foot wide deck in front of it on the bay side. So that means or 9-foot wide. So the actual setback to the deck would be around 47 feet, but we're moving back roughly 40 feet, maybe a little bit more than 40 feet.
Thank you.
So let me then explain the changes. And actually, I want to first of all explain the changes from the application that was before you as of December. So we got the planning department's technical analysis memo on December 22nd. And as you may have seen from the letter we submitted last week, we have made major changes to the application. Roughly speaking, they're the following. We reduced the house GFA by 1/3. It had been over 1,900 square feet proposed. Mr. Capice redesigned the house, basically to make it wider but shallower, which helped us make the maximum of our coastal setbacks. He reduced the perimeter law variances, which were originally 9 feet requested on both sides, down to 5 feet, which we would submit is pretty much about the minimum you can
I
get.
was thinking that if you made it wider, you'd increase it, but you did it.
He managed to lower it.
Yeah.
Yep. And finally, the original application, we weren't proposing to meet the vertical separation from the septic system and groundwater, and that has been revised. We will put in retaining walls, and so the proposed septic will meet the 4-foot vertical separation. In fact, it will probably really exceed it. So to summarize the changes, both the changes that we've made from the prior application and the overall changes in respect to what's on the property. The new house will be about 40 feet landward of the existing house, and that is pretty much the maximum. That is really the maximum we can do. From the street, we have the septic system, which is obviously an IA system with a retaining wall. Then we have a parking area, the minimum that's necessary to be able to maneuver and get out. And then there's the house. And again, the house was shortened to improve those coastal setbacks. The area that's currently occupied by the existing house will be completely revegetated. We did not submit a revegetation plan, so if we go forward with this, I'm sure you will want one, but we will provide that. The IA OWTS system, low nitrogen system, was designed by Glynis Berry. She's an Orient resident. She was one of the early proponents of IA systems on the East End, going back more than a decade. And she's the executive director of Peconic Green Growth, which is a not-for-profit corporation. She was very conservative in estimating groundwater on the property. She estimated groundwater at about 2 feet elevation, which is really excessive. The test hole shows groundwater around 0.7 feet above sea level. So in reality, we probably will have a separation, vertical separation to groundwater of around 5 feet, maybe more than 5 feet. Also, of course, the septic is being moved back from where it is right now. The existing septic, I should note, is 33 feet from the freshwater wetlands to the south. It is below the grade of the property, and the whole property, as you would have seen by visiting, there's not even a defined driveway really on the property. It's all kind of dirt and grass. And the septic is below grade, which means it's in groundwater. There's no question the existing septic system sits in groundwater. So the septic system improvements alone are significant. Both the horizontal movement, getting it out of groundwater, and now have it meet a 4-foot vertical separation, and finally the fact that it will be a low nitrogen design.
So we don't have the
We
new
don't have
survey
a
yet.
new survey, right?
No, so we were pressed for time, and so last week, the surveyor, Gary Benz, who's our surveyor, he was at a surveyors conference from Wednesday on. So I have his final revised version, but it's not completely correct, so I haven't submitted it to you. We will have to submit that survey if you want to, though, because I think the survey will match very closely. If you look at the architect's plans, there is a site plan drawing, and it does have dimensions, and we do believe those are accurate. That drawing is, let me turn to it here.
On the
Z0104.
that's 11923 drawings.
That's right, 119, January 29th. So that's what I'm using for, in terms of the setbacks. Actually, he has slightly different setbacks. I think 1.5 feet different setback from the house to the beach than what I described. But I think this, I'm not sure that this site plan actually correctly shows the, I think the beach line is a little bit further seaward as you go north. So we will submit this, and I guess we can discuss with them what the time to do that, but we will submit a revised survey. So just to describe the proposed and the new house briefly, the existing house GFA, as I said, is 822 square feet. The new house will be 1,284 square feet. The difference really is made up on the second floor, which I'll talk about. In all other relevant respects, the new house is basically the same size as the existing house. The footprint, that is the building coverage of the two buildings, is identical, 944 square feet. The ground area coverage, that's not a town zoning term, but the coverage of the building plus the associated decking and stairs is lower with the new house than with the existing house. There's more stairs and decking on the existing house. And those figures go from an existing 1,307 square feet to the new house being 1,194 square feet. Basically, all the new house has outside of it is a single deck on the seaward side. I think it's 9 feet deep. The new house, the existing house has 2 bedrooms. It only has 1 bath. The new house will also have only 2 bedrooms. It will have 2 baths, which is kind of necessary because the second bedroom is on the second floor. As I said, the new house has been shortened but widened so we can maximize our setback from the coast. And the house does comply with the side yard setbacks, which are governed by the 4/10 rule. The main variances, I mean, I'm going to go down in a moment, the variances, and I'll compare them to what's on your hearing notice. But the pyramid law variances of 5 feet on each side are basically unavoidable. We have a 50-foot wide lot. We have a FEMA regulation. We have FEMA regulations. We're in an A10 zone. That means with the 2-foot freeboard, the first floor has to be at least 12 feet elevation, and the ground elevations are very low. Basically, among all these lots in this area, this house and the neighboring lots, first of all, they probably all violate pyramid law right now, and any new construction is going to be in the same position that we're in. And I would point out, and you'll notice if you look at the building plans, you'll see this, the second floor has nothing to do with the pyramid law variance, because the second floor is entirely within the gable. We have no dormers. So even if there was no living area in that second floor, it would be just an attic. It would take up the same space. We'd have the same exact pyramid law non-conformance. The gabled roof is 2 feet below the maximum allowed height, which is 32 feet in an A2 zone. We're only 30 feet high at the roof ridge. On the second floor, if you look at the second floor plan, it's very small. It consists of stairs up, a hallway, a walk-in closet, a single bedroom, and a bathroom. This is basically a bedroom and a bathroom. It's only 12 to 13 feet wide because it has knee walls, because again, it's within a gabled area. So The actual usable area is only 12 to 13 feet wide. The idea here is to maximize or to minimize our footprint on the land while giving us sufficient floor area. And I will actually quote from the Planning Department technical analysis memo that said, generally, when considering wetland setbacks, a two-story residence with a reduced footprint is more advisable compared with a larger footprint with just a single story. That's basically what we've done. In summary, what I do is let me just go through the, what I do here is I'll compare what you have in your hearing notice because that might make it easier for everyone involved. So in the hearing notice, the variances noted are the following. 2 variances from wetlands. This is the freshwater wetland setback. 2 variances of 67 and 64 feet are required because the new residence is moving slightly closer to the freshwater wetland than the existing house. And the 2 are, one is for the deck, one is for the house, one is for the deck. Still not sure whether there's a separate wetland variance for the decking, but that's how you've been doing it. So that's approximately remains as noted, as stated in the notice. The second variance noted here is 31 and 39 feet. This is the setback. These are the setbacks from the residence to the edge of beach. We have moved the house further back. So the variance is sought. Again, we'll show that in the survey, but I believe, again, it's around, the house will be about 56 feet from the beach and the decking 47 feet approximately. So that's an improvement of what was originally proposed.
We haven't had time either to really absorb your submission.
Yes.
So does your submission identify all the pullbacks and the changes in the variances?
Yes, in my cover letter, it does. It does.
You said 56 for the house and 44 for the decking?
47 for the decking. Those are the setbacks, not
Yeah.
the variances. The required setback is 75 feet.
Yeah, it's in there.
Let me just hit the remaining on the hearing notice just to cover it. So again, we've improved the coastal setback from what we before you. The variance for the sanitary system remains as stated in the hearing notice. The new sanitary still needs a variance because it's new, but bear in mind that the existing wetland, the existing septic system, I said, is closer to freshwater wetlands and is sitting in groundwater and is not a low nitrogen system. A variance of 2 feet, it was required as per the notice for the vertical separation of groundwater for the septic system. That variance is now off the table. The septic will comply to the 4-foot vertical separation requirement.
Can we discuss that a little further?
Sure.
So the original so you're saying now you're going to require a retaining wall
Yes, yes, and that will allow us to raise.
to reach the 4 feet, but the variance request for the 2 feet was for the tank, right? The solid tank?
No, I don't believe so. It was for the leaching. They're using the
It was for
leaching,
It was for the geomat?
the geomats. Oh, yes, that's where we're measuring from. Yeah, you don't traditionally measure from the septic tank.
No, I know, but sometimes, we're finding that in areas, the septic tank is closer to, it can be closer to the water. So I just want to clarify.
Yeah, let's see if she
I want to
stays
know
here.
what that variance request was, because the tank is a solid tank.
Yeah.
It might be easier, and I'll talk about this with the planning department, to allow that variance, providing the geomat does not require that variance. Because the geomats do need to reach the separation, but if it's a holding tank, I'm wondering if it's.
I don't have the latest. Let me just see if it's shown on Bull's plans. The survey wasn't updated to
I'd rather not see a retaining
show the
wall.
vertical. Let me see here.
And what is the elevation of the retaining
Exactly.
wall as well?
We're proposing to use a Fuji system, and based upon the survey, that's not going to be 4 feet above
So
groundwater. the bottom of
Typically, that tank, that Fuji tank is deeper.
Yes.
And then you're gonna pump up to the geomats.
Yes, that's right. Yeah, I don't think we show
I
that.
just want clarification on that, because if, this should be figured out.
Well, we'll have to submit to you a survey that will update that information.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I'm wondering, but the survey is then gonna contain a retaining wall. I'm wondering if we can clarify that first before we go ahead and start considering a retaining wall. I'd rather eliminate the retaining wall if we can allow a 2-foot variance on that holding
Could
tank.
Capiz answer that? He's
He might
nodding
be
his head
able
back
to.
there. Maybe he can answer that for us? I don't know.
It looks like he's anxious to.
I don't, if Paul's able to answer the question.
Oh,
I should.
I mean, you know what I'm talking about. Tyler, you know?
Yeah.
Okay,
Well, let me, I'll tell you what. Let me-
Okay.
let me just
Okay, let him
finish, and then
yeah.
Tyler will add what he can here, so. So in any event, at the moment, I believe that that would be eliminated. Obviously, we need variances of 5 feet on either side for the pyramid law. The hearing notice was at 9 feet, so we brought that down. And the last thing is there was a notice on here for clearing setback to the freshwater wetlands to the south. I actually don't think we need that because that clearing, the only place that where the clearing becomes closer than what is existing is for the driveway, and the pervious driveway is exempt from the town's wetland setbacks, which would include presumably the clearing setbacks. So I don't think we need the clearing variance, but that's my summary.
Any
From
questions?
the architect or?
Rick, in terms of the building coverage, what, does that number change?
Building coverage will come down. No, building coverage will be identically the same, 944 square feet, both existing and proposed.
So what is there now? It'll be exactly the same,
Yeah, the building coverage will be exactly the
just be
same.
further back. Okay.
I would go into total coverage, but remember, total coverage on the existing lot, there's literally no parking area and no driveway. So this, it's all grass and dirt.
Mhm.
So the surveyor couldn't attribute any coverage to those improvements, even though they're obviously necessary.
Thank you, Tyler.
Tyler Borsak for the planning department. So this parcel is located on the east side of Gerard Drive, fronting on Gardner's Bay and Springs. Gerard Drive is a fragile peninsula of land separating Accabonac Harbor from Gardner's Bay, and the area of extreme environmental sensitivity. Accabonac Harbor, including Gerard Drive, is a New York State significant fish and coastal wildlife habitat, is a component of the Peconic Estuary Critical Environmental Area, and is within the Accabonac Scenic Area of statewide significance. It is a resource of crucial importance to the town and provides multiple environmental and recreational benefits. The wetlands along Gerard Drive provide all of the benefits typically associated with high-quality wetlands, including the provision of diverse, high-quality plant and wildlife habitats, nurseries areas for commercially important shellfish and finfish, the attenuation of floodwaters, and the removal of pollutants prior to groundwater and surface water recharge. Gerard Drive provides nesting habit and foraging habitats for federally endangered and state threatened birds, such as the piping plover, least terns, and osprey. The entire peninsula is flood prone, with some areas vulnerable to wave inundation from Gardner's Bay and others areas vulnerable to flooding from ground saturation or elevated surface waters from the harbor side. The existing improvements on the subject parcel are located perilously close to the edge of the beach and tidal wetlands of Gardner's Bay. The existing residence is located approximately 2 feet from the coastal hazard area line and approximately 11 feet from the edge of beach. The project before the board is proposing to demolish the existing residence and construct a new residence more landward on the property. The project has been amended, as we've been discussing already, in response to the technical analysis memo, and I will hopefully be able to give a thorough review of the changes in the planning department's opinion. In short, the residence has been shifted further landward on the property in order to maximize setbacks from the beach and tidal wetlands and to help minimize or eliminate other variances and reduce impacts. The closest structure to the edge of beach has been shifted landward an additional 10 feet, and the house has been redesigned in order to meet an approximately 54-foot setback from the edge of beach. In addition to shifting the front edge of the house further landward, the size of the proposed residence has been reduced fairly significantly to 1,284 square feet. This reduced gross floor area also contributes to a reduction in the lot coverage to the same 944 square feet that currently exists on the property. That redesign of the residence has also reduced the pyramid nonconformity from 9 feet to 5 feet on both sides of the residence. The applicants have also removed the need for a variance from separation to groundwater for the proposed sanitary system and will be compliant with the required 4-foot separation to groundwater per Harbor Protection Overlay District regulations. And to answer the question, that is to the leaching structures themselves. The tank is still going to be it's still be partially within groundwater. And so I imagine.
It is to the
board
leaching, okay.
We'll be
Yeah.
okay with that. But it is the leaching structures themselves that are going to be raised up.
Thank you.
We suggested in the technical analysis memo that they use a retaining wall in order to meet that separation.
Thank you.
So yeah, it is the actual leaching structures. Altogether, the updated proposals are much more in keeping with what the ZBA has approved in the past and are better suited to the constraints of the property. The parcel is still very constrained with significant wetlands in very close proximity. And the property itself is non-conforming to several aspects of the town code as were detailed in the technical analysis memo. Most importantly, this area is greatly impacted by coastal erosion, having lost approximately 70 feet of dune land to the east of the existing residence in the past 20 years. This pervasive erosion along Gerard Drive is an important factor when planning and designing redevelopments on small non-conforming properties. These factors, along with the existing environmental constraints, create a situation where variances are unavoidable under any circumstances. For example, the proposed sanitary system is located in the best location available on the property, but is still only located 55 feet from the wetlands across the street and 41 feet from the wetlands to the south of the property. As for the requested pyramid variances, with the existing grade around 3 feet above sea level, the requirements to meet FEMA first floor elevations of 12 feet and the 50-foot width of the parcel, designing a conforming two-story residence would be very difficult, if not impossible. With the redesign of the residence, the requested pyramid variances have been reduced to less than the existing conditions on the property and nearly half of what was proposed in the original design of this project. The only other alternative would likely be a single-story residence. However, when considering wetland and coastal setbacks, the two-story residence with a reduced footprint is more advisable compared to a larger single-story with a larger footprint. Overall, the applicants have taken the planning department's concerns with the original design and made significant improvements to the current proposed residence that reduce the footprint, reduce the gross floor area, and reduce the pyramid variance requests. The sanitary design has also been improved by eliminating the request for the separation to groundwater variance by including the suggested retaining wall. These changes should help to limit the environmental impact of the redevelopment, limit the impact on neighboring properties, and help to provide better long-term protection to the proposed residents in a vulnerable area. The board may want to consider what other mitigation measures would be appropriate. Seems the applicants are amenable to revegetation, but also potentially scenic easement on the property. Certainly any easement should allow for the placement of sand in the future if it's ever necessary. Other than that, I can answer any questions you might have.
Do you have any questions for Tyler?
Tony, do you have any concern about this garage that's going to be on the lower level? This garage, they've got parking underneath the house.
Right. I mean, it's just an open. I mean, the FEMA,
area.
it's just an open air parking where they're going to park underneath the residence. I don't really have any concerns about it.
Do those walls break away or no?
It would, I think it's required by FEMA in order, if it's below the FEMA level, it has to be a breakaway wall.
There are no walls.
Oh, it looks like a wall in the drawing.
You're talking about the storage and the staircase, right?
Anybody have any questions for Tyler? No questions?
No.
Thank you.
No.
Thank you, Tyler. Are you introduce yourself?
My name is Paul Capis. I'm the architect on the project.
Okay, you raise your hand. You swear affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth.
I do.
Thank you.
When it comes to the basement walls at the entry and the storage, the idea is this will be designed with flood vents. So in the event of a flood, water passes right through.
So that means you're going to have solid foundation?
This will be a concrete foundation. It'll be a pile foundation on a grade beam with concrete, basically concrete piers.
And the piles are to be driven piles, or they be,
They will be board piles, not pounded piles. Typically, this isn't fully designed, the foundation system, but this is the way I've done foundation systems in the past in similar conditions.
right. And you're going to do poured concrete walls then with flood vents.
That's right.
The flood vents be appropriately sized, 4
That's right.
foot wide,
That's right.
12 inches tall. that kind of thing.
Exactly what they need to be by FEMA requirements. We've done projects in
There's a
the Rockaways, Long Beach,
Yeah.
New York City, and out in the Hamptons, and this is how we do it.
But you are talking about heliopiles now, and you're not talking about driven piles here.
Correct. Correct. Driven piles could be potentially problematic to the foundations of the neighboring structures. You
Yeah.
don't want to do that.
That's our concern whenever these things come up in such a constrained lot.
Exactly, which is why that's the type of pile we do in the city all the time.
Hmm.
Yeah. Just one other thing I'd just like to mention since I'm up here. I mean, I think the project was explained very well by both Tyler and Rick. We've tried our best to be, think about erosion on the property. One of the things we saw in the initial photos that were up there were how the neighboring homes are being impacted by erosion. And that was the original design intent, was really to pull the house back as far as we can and make sure that, we're not going to build something that is going to be subject to this right away, this sort of beach erosion. And then the other piece of it was being responsive to the planning department. After reading through the memo, it was clear that there were certain comments that really made sense and that we could address, but the house does need to be large, it's small. It's a small cottage on the beach, basically, but it has to be large enough to warrant actually doing the work. And we're trying to straddle that line. And I think we're kind of there. So
Thank you.
thank you.
Rick? Rick, just a question on when the existing house is demolished, you're gonna have to, in order to get your building permit, you're gonna have your construction limiting fence, your erosion fence put up. But I want, when you remove the existing house, I would like that fence moved to the limits of clearing to the great screen shaded area on the thing, so that we limit construction activities in that, where that house was, as much as possible.
Sure,
So we can make that maybe a condition of the approval,
sure.
if it gets approved. Hmm? Yeah, we're gonna go to public in a minute.
So closing comments. I mean.
You
two
want to wait
things.
for public
wait for the
comment to see if there's
Oh,
any?
Oh, sure. Yep.
Is there anybody in the public that wants to address this application? Matt, is anybody on the phone?
Yes, we have one caller.
Okay, well, let
Are
them
you
in.
ready?
Yes.
Okay. Unmuting last four digits of 0193.
Hello?
Hello, caller. Yeah.
Hello? Yes, can you
Yes,
hear
I-
me?
Yes, will you identify, are you here for
Okay.
this hearing?
Yes, I am. My name is Barbara Kruger. I own the house to the south, 235 Girard Drive. Just wanted to correct Mr. Whalen's original statement. I, in fact, moved my house landward well over a decade ago. It took 2.5 years to get approval. I could only move it back 20 feet because of the wetlands, and I would have liked to have moved it further considering the rate of erosion. Just to make that clear, there had also been a destruction of a partial seawall put up long before I bought the house, probably 40 years before. And I had to take most of that down, even though a half to 3/4 were still standing. Since the seawall came down, the erosion has really accelerated. Just to make it clear that there was a pullback landward before.
Thank you. Rick, come on. Any other comments, Rick?
Richard Whalen, attorney for the applicant. Just closing comments. First of all, I thank Ms. Kruger for correcting me. Please note the Suffolk County GIS maps have been down since September, so I can't go back and check and see, over the last number of decades who's moved what. But I wasn't aware that the Kruger house had been moved landward. In any event, it would be a good precedent for us to do this here. The area between the house and the beach is an area that we would hope to heavily vegetate, because hopefully that will retard future erosion on our property. That's kind of really all I have to say. I know there was talk about a scenic easement. The one thing I want to say in an easement, not something we would necessarily be opposed to. However, I think we would oppose an easement that says you can't put an erosion control structure in that easement area. That's not something we could give up, because we don't know what's going to happen in the future. And I can't foreclose on behalf of the applicant, any possibility to come into the zoning board in some future decade for an erosion control structure. So that's not something that should be in any scenic easement. In terms of what you need from us now to close this up, I don't know if you want to make it a condition of approval or receive it before, but we'll have to give you a revegetation plan. And before that, I think you should get an updated survey.
Yes.
So I think Gary Benz is back, so we'll get him to do a final survey, hopefully this week, and get that to you.
Well, that'll be next is how much time will you need to keep that record open?
Are we doing
He's
it for
pretty
a
quick, and we
revegetation
have
plan
the
too?
site plan finished, so next Tuesday, I mean, a week.
I guess.
I'd be shocked if he couldn't turn around within a
Do
week.
you want to keep the record open for re-veg, or you want consider that as far as, I mean,
If it's approved, or
Yeah.
can we see it now?
we're
Well, what
making a
do you-
condition.
In your mind right now, do you have any plan? of-
Because I don't know, we haven't talked to anybody that I know of about, who would do the revegetation plan, so that
Oh.
might take a little longer.
Right, okay, but you do have proposed revegetation on the survey.
Yeah, but I don't think we show any details,
Right.
and we haven't hired anybody to produce a plan. That's just, I don't know.
Survey anyway.
That might take a little longer, but whatever you prefer. If you would like to see a revegetation plan before you close your hearing, either way, we have to do one.
Yeah, go ahead.
I think I would like to see a revegetation plan.
We're leaving you open for a week for the
A
survey.
survey.
Well, if
and a
we're gonna do the
reveg-
re-veg, then probably we need, I would
little
think,
bit
maybe a
longer?
month, maybe to be
But
safe.
they're identifying the area of revegetation, and then you have your
Yeah, I
existing
see
limits of
that.
clearing, which are, nothing's gonna happen.
When all is done, other than a footpath, which by the way, in the site plan is excessively wide, but when all is done, the only things on this property that will be cleared will be the driveway, I mean, the septic, because you can't plant on top of it, the driveway parking area and the house. There'll be no lawn on the property. There'll be no uncleared land on the property. So that's the objective. I just don't know what we'll plant and where. And you'll want your planning department to take a look at
Yeah.
whatever we propose.
Why don't we just leave it for a survey?
Yeah.
If we approve a conditional.
I would be
approval.
comfortable.
Yeah.
with
Okay,
If we approve.
we'll consider it as a condition.
Okay, all right. Thank you.
Let's get back to, before you leave,
We're
Rick,
gonna leave it open.
then what are we
anyway,
gonna,
so.
what are we gonna be making a motion here for leaving the record open? for 2
So
weeks?
why don't, let's be safe, just in case Gary Benz is backed up. If you would leave it open 2 weeks for us to submit a updated survey matching what we're proposing.
Oh, sorry, hold it.
Right here.
I'll address that. Okay. Okay, where's my notice? Here it was. Okay, in the matter of the application of Rocable Trust of Robert Isaacson, 233 Gerard Drive, Springs, Suffolk County Tax Map Number 300-42-2-9. I make a record that we close the public hearing, but leave the written record open for the submission of a survey. How long?
2 weeks.
For 2 weeks, and also that will also give the public opportunity to review documents that were just put online for their review and be able to respond to this board in light of the fact that it wasn't posted the full 10 days. It'd also give a neighbor or someone in the public an opportunity to review those documents.
If we physically posted stuff, so public might see it.
That's a legal question. I don't know.
Well, the documents will be posted online
That's
for
what
them to see. Yeah.
That's what I'm
Yeah,
thinking.
not posted.
Yes.
They don't
Posting wasn't
necessarily-
at,
I mean,
posting
we
wasn't
have
at
a
the
proper David,
property, so
we have a
people
proper
going by.
affidavit. We have a
Well,
proper posting that went out.
Rick's gonna Rick, can you verify that the property was posted? Because the affidavit service does say it was posted.
Richard Whalen again, attorney for the applicant. I know the property is posted because Kimberly Ovando, who posted it, was with me on the day, was a Friday, last day to post. We discussed where the posting was going to go. We made sure that she knew where the property was. She went up there. The problem, I think, is that, as you know, over the last few days, we've had a lot of, rain and wind. So I would imagine the posting came down then, and it's, this is obviously kind of an inconvenient property to go, you can't go up and check all the time. So we probably should have gone up after the last storm. I'm guessing that, one of these recent storms probably took down the posting, but it was posted.
And I think with the record being left open 2
Yeah,
weeks and
and
the
I'm fine with
documents
that.
posted as of today, I think it'll give
Yeah.
the public an opportunity to, if they're watching this, to review the document. So I think that would be sufficient. Is there a
Thank
second?
Second.
For 2 weeks, I'll second.
I'll concur.
Record.
I'll
Concur
concur.
as well. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Next, we have Dana Levine at 872 Montauk Highway in Amagansett, Suffolk Tax Map number 300-152-2-29.1. The size and location is 166,997.4 square feet at 872 Montauk Highway, Amagansett. The description is to replace existing decking, remove a 224 square foot portion of deck, add 312 square feet of new decking, install 4-foot pool fencing, and construct a pergola, an outdoor barbecue kitchen area, and a screen porch with a roof deck and on a parcel containing dune land and freshwater wetlands. The relief sought is a natural resources special permit pursuant to 255-420 and two area variances pursuant to 255-430 are required from East Hampton Town Code. A variance of 25 feet is needed from 255-430 to construct a 4-foot pool fence 75 foot from the wetland, and a variance of 2.5 feet is needed from 255-430 to construct an outdoor barbecue kitchen 97.5 feet from the wetland where 100-foot setback is required, and any other relief necessary. The zoning district is A2, AE10 flood zone, flood zone, and the secret class is type 2. And council, do we have a proper affidavit of service and posting?
We do. Pursuant to section 255-9-23 of the Town of East Hampton Code, we have certified copies being mailed on January 12th, 2023, as well as a posting to the property on that same day, 10 days prior to today's hearing.
Thank you.
So this is a picture of the posting on Montauk Highway. Next. And just to make sure I was in the right place, I took a picture of 872 next to the posting. Next, that's looking down a rather long driveway, south or southeast, I guess. Next, that's just on the side of the driveway to show you what the vegetation looks like. Next, that's the other side of the driveway, vegetation, and you can see Montauk Highway peeping out there. Next, more driveway. It's a long driveway. Next, that's a picture of this. In your diagram, you see it's described as a sports court. The back half is a basketball court, a short basketball court. And then the other direction is the tennis court. Next, that's the tennis court. Next, that's the house. So the sports court is to the right behind the Green Giants or Arborvitae. And you can see my car to the left. Next. Now I've gone to the right side of the house, which would be going west. So that's the existing pergola you see through there and the slate patio. Next, that's a fire pit off the pergola. That's on the slate patio. Next, that's the gate going up to the pool, which is on the other side. On the other side of the gate is the pool. Next. That's opposite the pool. You can kind of sort of see the shower, the outdoor shower from there. Next, I think I took a picture of the outdoor shower, yes, which is opposite the pool. Next, that's farther along opposite the pool, the side of the house. Next, that's the end of the pool area. Next, now I'm going around the back of the house, which is the area that they want to do some work. Next, that's behind the house and off the deck. Next. Now I'm walking around the house, I'm off the deck. Next. This is the side of the house opposite the pool. Next. That's just the picture of into the crawl space or the basement. Next. And now I've exited the other side of the house. Next. And that's looking down the driveway at my car. That's it. Any questions?
No, anybody have any questions?
No.
No, thank you. Do we have the applicant here? How are you?
Hi, how are you? My name is Luis Alfaro. I work for Samir Carrillo, who is the contractor and builder for this project.
Okay, can you raise your right hand? Do you affirm or tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you.
I'm a little nervous. This is the first time I've done this. As you can see, we would like to remove the existing deck, portion of the deck. And I believe it's 224 square feet, and construct again a portion of the deck again for 312 square feet. And also, which is, I believe, an issue with the we need a variance because it's 2.5 feet off the wetlands. And also, we would like to add a constructive pergola and an outdoor barbecue kitchen area, which is the portion that we're talking about right now. And a 4-foot pool fencing around the area.
Now, the pool fencing, is that required? Because don't you have a guardrail around the pool decking itself?
No, we don't have. I don't believe.
I thought there were.
Yeah.
The guardrail around the decking, the deck, yes, we do have that. I
There-
believe.
So then,
There was a gate that I went through to get to the pool.
Yes,
And
Maybe
it was
Morgan could
off
show us
the
the photos.
pergola, and the pergola was all fenced. I thought it was all fenced in.
you're talking about the pool, around the pool area.
Yes.
Right.
Yes, that is fenced in. I
so
agree.
then what's the
Stay.
purpose of the fence?
It would be around the, to replace it and install a new pool fence around that area.
So we're taking a conforming fence or pool enclosure
Yes,
and making it non-conforming to wetlands, or is that correct? Or
no.
Is
I'm lost.
that to be replaced in kind? Do we see the same enclosure at the pool side that you have now?
If it's, I believe it's on the permit itself for the request of the builders, with the
Right.
drawings, with everything that.
Let's see. All right.
Okay, we,
Because you see what the chair is asking, what is the point of adding a fence that's going to require
I do.
some attention?
which is creating a nonconformity.
Right.
Okay.
Okay, and then you're requesting, the other question I had was, you have the barbecue, you have a de minimis, I know it's a de minimis request of 2 feet, 2.7 feet. You can't eliminate that variance by relocating it just a little bit?
We tried to play around with it to see if we could move it any further down, but I think that is the most we would like to lose on that portion of the deck.
Because it makes the deck too narrow.
Yeah,
By 2 feet. 2 feet would eliminate, 2.5 feet would eliminate the need for a variance. here.
But the deck is requesting a variance as well, right?
Yeah.
Mhm.
So the kitchen is within that deck?
Yeah.
So if we prove that For argument's sake, if the deck gets, that's correct.
Yeah.
So it's within
So
that
he's
deck.
saying
It's-
it's making.
It's not a
this
separate structure added to the deck or?
No,
No, it's not the barbecue, it's just the whole deck.
it's too narrow.
Anybody have any questions?
Only that you should seriously consider how you are going to defend any of this fence, because we're sitting here looking and saying, if you already have an enclosure around the pool, why is it necessary? So is it going for another reason, because of another enclosure, looking for a pet yard, or what? What's the reason to add a fence?
In regards to the fence, I have to look more information on that. I was here completely ready to defend the 2.5 feet of that barbecue area.
Okay.
So you'd like to get back to us on that?
Yeah, I could
Yeah,
get back to you
okay.
right away with that.
That would be fine.
And you submitted a new survey on December 29th, or we received it on December 29th, because you're also adding now a generator?
Yes, the generator in the front
You see the
of the
generator?
house. Yes. It's not on the application.
Generator's not on the new survey?
They got a seal for it already.
Should be on the survey, though. This survey is so small, I can't read it.
I know.
How'd you get that thing? Oh, that's March. Yeah, it's not on there.
I received March
This
3rd.
is December. So this is two of them.
Fence is gone.
On the
Yeah, the
survey.
March one is big. Something.
You have to clarify the fence first. That doesn't sound clear. See that we don't see the fence.
Yeah, I think maybe we hear from Tyler at this, or sorry, Morgan. Maybe, thank you. We'll hear
Thank
from
you.
them and then we'll come call you back if we need you.
I'm
Hi,
Morgan
Morgan.
Slater
How
with
are
the
you?
planning department. Good. How are you?
Good. Can you raise your right hand? Do you swear or affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you.
So the subject property is located on the south side of Montauk Highway in Amagansett and contains a two-story residence with associated structures, including a sports court and in-ground swimming pool. Dune land and dune vegetation is found throughout the property, and freshwater wetlands are located on the south side of the parcel within a scenic easement. The wetland system on this property also extends on the town preserve land located to the south and open space located to the east. In the past, the planning department has noted the presence of multiple native dune species, including beech heather and bearberry, as well as native wetland species such as swamp azalea, high bush blueberry, and royal fern. These wetlands can be expected to provide many of the important benefits typically associated with high-quality freshwater wetlands, including the provision of high-quality habitat for wetland-dependent plants and animals, and the attenuation of floodwaters after storms. Given the high biodiversity of natural resources, this property is of high significance to the natural environment, and any proposed improvements should be looked at closely. The application before the board proposes multiple renovations to the pool deck and the area around it. The proposed improvements include the replacement of the current decking with repairs to the framing as necessary. The deck plans also include the permanent removal of approximately 224 square feet of decking on the south side of the residence, as well as on the north side of the pool decking, and the construction of approximately 312 square feet of decking on the south and north of the existing pool decking and south of the residence. You can kind of see there's like a darker green area on this, on these site plans. The dark is what's being added. And then there's like a red hatched area, which is what's being removed. The application also proposes a barbecue kitchen on the south side of the residence, which is proposed 97.5 feet from the wetlands to the south, and therefore requires a 2.5 foot wetland setback variance in order to be constructed. The poured concrete footing of the proposed kitchen area would require some excavation, and the board should consider any impact of construction occurring within 100 feet of the wetland. The environmental impact of this excavation can be mitigated by the installation of hay bales and sediment control fencing prior to the start of construction. However, the board should consider the long-term impacts of expanding structures within setbacks of these wetlands when the existing structures were carefully planned in order to meet all applicable setbacks when the residence was built in 2004. It should be noted that the 2003 ZBA application for the construction of the residence included a 5-foot wetland setback variance, and that was eliminated after the planning department pointed out that the variance could be avoided if there was a reduction in the size of the pool deck. The proposed pool fence requires a 25-foot wetland setback variance, and it would be built along the boundary of the scenic easement, which may result in disturbance of the easement. It does appear possible to move the fence closer to the residence, resulting in the reduction or even elimination of the requested variance, and therefore disturbance to the easement can be avoided. The board should consider any alternative plans that would minimize the extent of or eliminate entirely the proposed variance. I was just looking at the site plans that include like the guardrail that goes around the deck, and it is proposed to be 3 feet high. So a pool fence requirement is 4 feet. So I mean, that could be altered.
Well, it's 3 feet, but it's 4 feet from grade, not. it
Okay,
can
so
be
then in
3
that case,
It can be 3 feet from the deck if it's 4 feet on the outside to
Yeah.
grade.
and it is a raised deck. There isn't a
That's
vertical
correct.
showing the
Looks like
measurement. So we could ask for that, but there is a guardrail proposed around the pool deck. The proposed new roof structures include the construction of a 10-foot by 20-foot pergola on the north side of the pool deck, as well as construction of a 244 square foot covered screen porch with a roof deck over the existing decking on the southwest side of the residence. These structures will not likely introduce any additional significant environmental impacts when compared to the current conditions, since they are being built in areas that currently have decking. Other improvements included in the application that are expected to have little impact on the environmental conditions of the property include the installation of wire guardrail around the existing and proposed pool deck and proposed roof deck, the removal of a wood fence on the south side of the residence, the removal of an existing pergola, and construction of a raised planter on the north side of the pool deck, the installation of an electric pool cover, and the installation of a door on the second floor of the residence for access to the proposed roof deck. Any environmental impact would likely occur during construction and can be mitigated by the use of hay bales and sediment control fencing. The planning department requests that the landscaping done with the invasive ornamental silvergrass be removed and replaced with native vegetation in order to better meet the NRSP standards and to maintain consistency with the conditions of past approvals on this property and in the surrounding area. Other than that, I can answer any questions about the application.
Do you have any questions?
Just back to the fence.
Mhm.
Okay, so we have,
Totally confused.
yeah, so
Yeah.
we've got already a clarification on the fact that we will have a 4-foot protection for the pool
Mhm.
based on the rail that's there. Where is the fence proposed to go?
It's
I'm not
this
seeing it on my
red dotted
survey.
line.
Oh, it's
All the way
that
out there?
far, all the way out there.
This specific plan doesn't show the setback, but it's right here. It's 75 feet in the wetland.
Why
And
the
is that a
pool
scenic
fence-
easement down
Yes,
there?
this is scenic easement.
So they want the fence right up to the scenic easement?
In that portion.
And that fence goes around a lot more than just the pool.
Does it go,
Yeah, it terminates with the chain link fence on the sports.
But
does
in
it
this-
go over
in this
50%
case-
of the property?
Oh, I don't know.
But in
Yeah,
this
'cause it's
case,
not supposed
This is
to.
a 166 square,
That wouldn't be allowed.
166,000 square foot lot. So it's pretty,
It's-
let me just
it's
clarify,
pretty
in
long.
the NRSP
This is the
jurisdiction
whole
here
lot,
would be
so-
150 feet. Can we clarify, is the NRSP jurisdiction 150 feet here
for the pool fence.
for
Yeah.
any structure
Yeah.
separation, right?
Not all I mean, there's not a line that shows 150 foot jurisdiction, but you know, it's 97.5 feet to the barbecue right here. So that's around 100-foot jurisdiction. Oh. Brian just reminding me, everything's basically in NRSP jurisdiction because there's dune land present on the property.
Okay, and there was a proposed screen porch that's no longer proposed? I do see on the plan still.
Oh, yeah, so that's what this updated survey is for. It was originally shown in the survey submitted, and it was gonna be on the north side of the residence. And that was actually part of an NRSP, an admin NRSP from 2020, but that has been eliminated from that NRSP and then also this application, so that's not proposed anymore.
Okay, but the
There
plans
is
still
the-
show it. But
Yeah, the survey submitted at the end of December doesn't have that on it. But this one, there is still a proposed screen porch on the south side of the residence.
And that's in the plans that we have from
Yeah,
the
it's-
architect today.
The survey, it's not really-
It's outside.
It's this yellow bit right here. That's gonna be the screen porch. Proposed.
Okay. And that needs no variance, just the NRSP.
No variant, just NRSP.
So there's gonna be no fencing around the pool, just the fence way out?
Well, there is going to be they are putting up a guardrail on the actual deck itself, and then
Oh.
yeah, and then there's also the fence included in the application, which requires the variance.
So I'm still unclear about the need of the fence, not that you know,
Yeah.
but I mean.
I mean,
wonder what the need is.
I mean, it doesn't seem to be necessary.
Could be a comment from the applicant. Okay.
I mean, if the guardrail is 4 feet from grade, why do you need a second fence?
They don't,
Maybe for another purpose.
doesn't seem like they
It
do.
doesn't seem like it is necessary.
For deer? I mean, the driveway had one of those deer
The deer grates, yeah.
grade.
I mean, it's labeled as a pool fence on the surveys, so
Yeah,
that's what
no, I
we're calling it.
Pool's 4
Have you
feet.
had any reaction from the applicant and the suggestion that the invasive ornamental grass be removed?
No, no
Could you
reaction.
do that? You could ask the applicant if they're willing. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank
Wanna
you.
Come up again. Obviously, we
Hello
have a
again.
concern about the fence, right?
Yeah.
And I think that should be addressed. It should be clarified to this board. What is that fence for? Is it duplicating a fence a pool enclosure that you already have? And if not, if you still want a fence, it should be pulled back to not be within wetlands setbacks. And then I think we have to address the ornamental grasses that is recommended in the TAM. Have you addressed that at all?
For the grasses? you
Yeah,
said?
have you read the technical analysis memo? So they're requesting to have them removed in natural vegetation.
Okay. We work with Cortez Landscaping, so we can get that done.
Okay,
This would be a condition that we would be insisting upon, so you can look at it from that point of view.
how much, so I don't know, what would you want to come back to us with the
With the fencing?
fencing?
Yes, of course.
All right, so how much time do you need?
Could you give in a week or two?
I'd say let's give them 2 weeks just to be safe.
Give you 2 weeks to get back with us with the clarification on the location of the fencing and its purpose. You know, it's listed here as a pool fence, which leads to the confusion because obviously it's not necessary as a pool fence. So now we're wondering why and if it has to exist.
Understood. Thank you.
Thank you. Joe?
Public?
Oh, yeah. Thank you. Is there anybody in the public that would like to address this application? Matt, is there anybody on the phone?
0 callers, thank you.
Okay, you're bailed out.
In the matter of Dana Levine, 872 Montauk Highway, Amagansett, Suffolk County Tax Map Number 300-15202-29.1. I make a motion to close the public hearing and leave the record open for 2 weeks.
I'll second that.
I concur.
I concur.
I concur as well. Thank you. All right, next we have 33 Mako LLC at 54 Sandcastle Lane in Amagansett, Suffolk. That's map number 300-152-2-28.13. And that is size and location is 33,976 square feet. It's 54 Sandcastle Lane, Dunes and Napeag, number 6994, Amagansett. The description is to remove and construct 1,038 square feet of first and second floor story additions into an existing 1- and 2-story residence. Renovate an existing pool cabana, repair timber retaining walls, and relocate pool equipment from within a scenic easement on a parcel of land containing dune land, beach vegetation, and freshwater wetlands. The relief sought is a natural resources special permit pursuant to 255-420 and variances from 255-430 minimum wetland setbacks of the town code and any other relief necessary. A 66-foot wetland setback variance is required to allow the closest of the proposed additions to be located 34 feet from wetlands where a 100-foot setback is required. Zoning district is A2 residence, AE elevation 10, and X flood zones, and the secret class is type 2. And council, do we have a proper service of affidavit of service and posting?
We do pursuant to East Hampton Code, Town Code, Section 255-9-23. We have certified mailings that were performed on January 11th, 2020. It's supposed to be 2023. And also a posting that occurred on January 10th, 2023.
Thank you.
And there's a picture of the posting. Taken from the bottom of the driveway. Those are railroad ties that separate the front lawn, which is basically dune, and the driveway to the left, which is gravel. Next. That's a shot of the driveway. Next, and the front of the house. That's looking one way from the driveway. Next, there's a little sort of circle that you can drive around. It's a dead end or a cul-de-sac. Next. It's the front of the house. Next. This is to the left of the house. There's a swinging gate door that I'm just about to go through. Next. That opens up to a pool, a two-level deck and pool deck, and a little pool house in the back. Next. That's on the other side of the fence, or the decking fence, that you can see the vegetation. And I think that's pool equipment in the background. Next. That's the other side of the house, like directly behind the front door, and there's a outdoor shower that seems to have been hooked up. It doesn't seem to have a drain. You can see it to the right. Next. This is the second floor deck. I went up a staircase. I think I forgot to take a picture of the staircase. Next. A view from the second floor deck. You see my car. Next. Looking from the second floor deck down the side of the house. And you can see in the background where they're going to build, or where they propose to build the addition. Next, one of the additions. That's another shot to the side of the house where they're proposing to build their addition. Next, I went around the house. This is just going around the house. There's a retaining wall on the right side of the house that you can kind of see in the right of the picture. Next. That's around the back of the house. Next. More around the back of the house. Next. Now I'm coming back. Next. That's more of the front lawn, which is largely untouched dune land. Next. More of the front lawn. Next. And I think that's it. Is there one more picture?
No,
No.
that's it.
Oh, that's it.
Thank you, Joan. Alice, how are you?
It's freezing in here. If I'm trembling, that's why. Good evening, board members. I am Alice Cooley of Matthews Kirsten Cooley. I'm here on behalf of 33 Mako LLC, the owner of 54 Sandcastle Lane in Amagansett, and I'm joined by Tommy Zung of Studio Zung, the architect and builder. By way of background, Tommy and I had a meeting with Eleni Nikolopoulos in November of 2021 before the purchase of this property. When this design was in its early development stages, we presented the design as you see it here tonight, but with the addition of a garage, and the meeting was mostly positive. The feedback we received at that meeting was that because the additions were proposed over existing structures, they were not objectionable. But Eleni thought the garage might cause too much disturbance on the site. And after meeting with Brian and Tyler, Eleni sent me an email stating that they all agreed the planning department would not support that garage, so we removed it. The purpose of this application is first and foremost to repair the failing retaining walls. You saw some of the retaining walls in the photos, and I encourage you to visit the site if you can. The reason this is so important is not because of the appearance of these walls or their effect on the property, but because they functionally support the foundation. I want to stress how important this relief is to the integrity of the structure. We have reports from the architect and 2 engineers detailing the importance of repairing these walls. I will let Tommy speak more fully as to how this works if you have any questions. But since I'm a lay person in this regard, and frankly, it was a little difficult for me to understand, I thought I would try to explain it to you in my layman's terms, except you, Roy. I'm not talking to you. I know you know this already. This foundation is not typical where you dig a hole, you place forms, and you pour the foundation and compact earth around the foundation already in the ground. Here, the foundation was constructed, the top of the foundation wall was at 13.5 feet above grade. And because of this construction design, the retaining walls provide the necessary pressure and compaction against the foundation. Without them, the foundation would lack the support it requires. This design can be seen as ahead of its time because it is elevated and FEMA compliant, but they're constructed of wood and the retaining walls are now failing after 40 years of exposure to the elements. We propose to shore them up with concrete on the exterior of the walls. They are a necessary element to the structural integrity of the foundation. Given their importance to the integrity of the home and their state of deterioration, we did consider filing for an emergency permit for this work and met with the building department, but would prefer to proceed with a comprehensive project approval from this board. Brian was kind enough to let me know that the planning department's position is that the northerly retaining wall was not a part of the 1985 CO and that the planning department does not support its repair. But for several reasons, we do think that it was. Most importantly, it must have been constructed at the same time as the residence. As I previously stated, the retaining walls are necessary from an engineering perspective, and the foundation and the house itself would not have survived without the northern wall. I connected with the original surveyor, and he confirmed that the 1982 and 1983 surveys would not have depicted the retaining walls, as surveyors did not typically detail fences and walls at this time, and indeed none of the retaining walls that exist on site are depicted on the survey. The retaining wall is visible in a 1988 aerial photograph. It is not clearly visible in a 1983 aerial photograph, but there is substantial shadowing and it appears that the residence was still under construction, so we can't be sure. Lastly, the building history for this property is a little strange. The CO is from August of 1985. The survey associated with it does not depict some of the structures listed on the 1985 CO. That survey is dated August of 1983. In addition, the building permit for the deck and pool cabana was issued in 1984. After the date of the supposed final survey, those structures are listed on the CO. So I don't think we can rely on this property history in a conclusive way. If the board does deny the permit to shore up the wall, the applicant will leave it in place and hope it doesn't fail. The building department has stated that they will not require its removal. We are happy to remove the gravel and stones from the area and leave it as natural sand. The removal or relocation of these walls, the approximately 2 feet necessary to comply with the scenic easement setback, would cause far greater disturbance than shoring them up with 6 inches of concrete behind them. To relocate them, we would need to excavate 1,008 square foot area rather than a disturbance of 168 square feet that we're currently proposing. We would have to dig to a depth of 5 feet on the north side of the retaining wall, which is the side facing the scenic easement, and 6 to 7 feet along the south side of the retaining walls towards the house along the 84-foot length of the existing wall. We would also have to install 8-foot tiebacks in order to anchor it. In addition, there's a substantial amount of trees. I think you saw it in some of the photos that Joan showed earlier. They're on both sides of the wall. So they're between the wall and the house, and they're on the outside on the scenic easement side. Those would all be lost.
Yeah.
This project has also been designed to minimize the disturbance of beach vegetation and dune with all the proposed additions over existing improvements. There is no proposed increase in building coverage, 0. The existing building coverage is 1,179 or 6.3% of the lot size. Lot area, excuse me. There is no increase in total coverage, also 0. The existing total coverage is 5,474 or 19.5%. The proposed house will still be much smaller than other houses on Sandcastle Lane. This neighborhood is dominated by large homes.
I can attest to that. I didn't take pictures of
Many
the other
with
houses.
more clearing and more total lot coverage in addition to size. The addition on the west side of the property is enclosing an existing deck as a second story. I believe Joan took a picture up there. The addition over the front door is roofed already. It actually has walls on the side, and we're just proposing to enclose it fully. The addition on the southeast corner is enclosing an area that is already improved. There's a second story deck. There's nothing underneath. We are proposing a concrete slab foundation in that area, and if that's objectionable, there are alternatives that I can let Tommy discuss because I don't understand it. We examined the criteria of 255-551 of the town code, which requires an applicant seeking an NRSP to explore alternative designs. Here, the only proposed disturbance of any natural feature is the excavation and clearing associated with the installation of the nitrogen-reducing sanitary system, which we obviously have to do no matter what. While a disturbance of dune land and beach vegetation is regrettable in any instance, it's necessary to introduce a much-needed sanitary upgrade, and we do propose to revegetate the entire area. The system is proposed in the most conforming location. The area where the sanitary system is proposed is very sparsely vegetated, which I think you can see in some of the photos where it shows the driveway, and just immediately to the right of that, you can see it's a very sparse area. There's one large tree, but other than that, there's almost no vegetation. So while we are proposing disturbance, it's not a well-vegetated area. Based on my review of aerials from the 1980s, this area has been sparsely vegetated for some time. The only exterior changes that we are proposing to the existing cabana are new siding, new door, and a new roof. In conclusion, I do think that this proposal is reasonable, particularly with the benefits of the upgraded sanitary system, revegetation, and removal of the offending structures from the scenic easement, which in fairness, we would do regardless of this application. All of the proposed mitigation mentioned in the TAM is acceptable, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
You ask Tommy to come up about these? Should we ask Tommy to come up and talk about this?
Yeah, you can if you want.
Go ahead. What do you
Yeah,
want?
that's fine. Anybody have any questions for?
No, I'm fine with Alice.
Alice? Thank you.
Okay.
Can we get Tommy up?
How are you? Can I,
You want to announce yourself?
yeah, sorry, Thomas Zung, Tommy Zung of Studio Zung.
Do you swear affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Swear to tell all the truth, all the truth, all the truth. Do you want me to review or just?
No, I think Ed might have some
No,
questions.
we're looking at these photos that were included in, and what did you label this? Anyway, it's from you, it's from Zung's, Studio Zung. And there's these pictures of these posts that apparently are holding up the house that are sitting on 8x8s. What are they sitting on? What am I looking at here?
Which photo exactly?
In your report.
In your
In your
report.
report or foundation report.
Yeah, which,
Well, there are several here that indicate the same thing. There's two close-ups and
It's the one dated November 1st.
he's got it.
November 1? Yeah, I got it.
November 1st.
Appendix A4, A5, A6, or A7? Which image are you looking, or A8?
8, I'm looking at 8, 9, and
Okay, A8, 9, 10, and 11, these were all Delandrio engineering photographs, but we're commenting on them. So A8, A9, 10, and 11 was the existing foundation, which is exposed and deteriorating and not to code. So that's where Delandrio, also the another engineer ourselves saw that. So these are a requirement, A being above grade, which is causing the deterioration of the concrete, which is and then not to code. So therefore, these are required to be reformed and set. A8, A9, 10.
So I'm looking at what? I'm looking at concrete, or am I looking at a piece of wood at grade there?
Well, at A9, you're looking at a footing that's exposed out of ground. At A8 behind, you're looking at a footing. There's a retaining wall in front. A10, you're seeing 2 footings exposed. A11, I'm not really sure why Delandrio put that in there.
Just show the gravel.
I'm leaving them. I just left it as their report.
Obviously, I think Delandrio is addressing them, right?
Yeah, he's addressing them and showing why they have to be replaced, but I'm wondering how this entire structure is hanging up on this on the rear. of the
Yeah, well,
house.
it looks precarious.
Therein lies a problem.
Well, that's why we're commenting, because it's pretty out of the ordinary to have something to rely the house structure to lie on.
That should never be built like that, but let's leave that at that at the time of building. It shouldn't have been built like that. Obviously, that's not a proper footing, nor can it hold a house up. It's structurally degraded. It's a requirement. It's the exposed footing, not to code, obviously deteriorating.
Right.
I don't see rebar. The Delandrio doesn't see rebar. Irregardless, let's take out that retaining wall in the forefront. A11's, I don't know why they put that picture in, but that's, that is unsafe. Should not be there. And that's a requirement that they noted and we noted as well. 8, 9, 10.
Thank you. Anybody else have any questions? Alice, I have one question for you, maybe. The notice is to rebuild a cabana, but the TAM is saying it doesn't appear that a cabana was previously part of a C of O.
The cabana's on the CO.
It is on the CO.
Yeah, I have a copy of the building permit.
And to clarify, no rebuilding of it, just replanting wall and roof.
No, the question would be whether or not it's a legalized structure. That's all. That's.
It's legal. It's on the CO. The reason I mentioned it was because none of the dates made sense to me. You know, I was trying to point out that I've got a building permit from August 9th, 1984 for a 450 square foot wood deck and a 63 square foot pool cabana. It's not shown on the survey. That's part of the CO. The survey is from 1983. And then the CO lists the pool cabana. It lists the deck, and it's dated April 1985 after the building permit.
So it's as if they reversed survey to CO. They issue CO with pool cabana, but survey does not have it.
It says final survey on it. And I don't know if that was maybe because of a health department submission that they made, but it clearly does not reflect all of the improvements, but it was legal.
Which would happen if it would be part of the health department survey, because oftentimes there's another final survey that would have to get approved,
But there was a series of building permits that were closed out as a part of this 1985 CO, and the cabana was one of them.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you. Anybody have any questions? Okay, Brian? Okay, go to Brian.
I didn't see one.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, board members, Brian Frank, from the Planning Department.
Brian, do you swear affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do. So this property, this is, the house initially was built in 1982. That was prior to the town's natural resources regulations, which were adopted in late 1984. Theoretically, any construction after that should have needed a natural resources special permit. That's when there was also our contemporary wetland definition and the 100-foot wetland setback. Prior to that, there are some references to wetlands. As you see, I'll come to the survey here. It was not uncommon. You'll see surveys from the early 80s or the 70s where obvious wetlands were just noted as the surveyor as a conspicuous surface feature. I think much the way a pond or a big rock would be noted. And, when we get to it, you'll see areas that they note as bog. And those are some of the wettest areas of the wetlands. So whether they had standing water in them or cranberries at the time that the surveyor was there, that's probably what they used to refer to as a bog. And it wasn't that uncommon. And I think they were probably identified in the subdivision. You'll see when I get to the aerial photos, there's it's a beautiful wetland. It's really extensive in this area. And
The whole area is.
and this property is surrounded with a reserved area, quite likely because of that. And the northern portion of the property has a scenic easement, probably intended to help contribute to protecting that. I can't explain the building history either. There is a building permit for the cabana that was issued after the residence. It's not on the survey that accompanies the certificate of occupancy. I'm going to move over here and bring up an aerial and just kind of show you where we're talking about in town.
Yeah.
So this is the subject property bordered in blue. I have a view that's a little bit closer, but this is obviously Sandcastle Lane. Here's the cul-de-sac that was obvious in Member McGivern's photos. This is all the wetland here. It's really quite extensive. This is the property is completely surrounded by a reserved area. There are other wetlands across the street. Classic, secondary duneland and interdunal swales here that you associate with Napeague. This is a little bit closer view of the property with some topography. So here are the existing improvements, and I think a lot of the application is pretty straightforward. I'd agree with what Alice said about the additions being well cited. If this is deck here, I don't see how it doesn't increase coverage because you're going to a building permit, but increasing coverage on this application, I don't think is disqualifying at all from the natural resources special permit or the variances. This is the area where the sanitary system, the new IA system would be installed. We have found that retaining the duneland soils on these properties is integral to a good revegetation. It helps eliminate weed species like the spurges and spotted knapweed that you get from quarry fill. And because most of these plant species live in a symbiosis with mycorrhizal fungi that provide moisture and they get nutrients from the plant, you get colonization of the duneland species that you can't buy from a landscaper. The beech heather, the Hudsonia, lesser known plants like the pinweed and sand mat and a lot of the lichens just naturally colonize these areas better if you take the duneland soils and retain them and use them as top dressing. It's really the best substrate to retain the natural character of the property. So I can move back to the survey if you'd like, but I think the aerial shows pretty well. This is where the addition is the smaller of the two additions is proposed. This is where the more substantial addition is proposed. Again, we discussed the sanitary upgrade. The driveway retaining wall is fairly straightforward. I don't see that being invasive. The planning department is concerned about the area that's closest to the scenic easement. The wetlands, it is less than 10 feet away from the scenic easement. I am going to borrow, just because I think it might be quicker to bring up, I think Alice included the CO. This is the CO that's referenced in the certificate of occupancy. You could see the setback that was provided here from the scenic easement. We have a townwide 10-foot setback from scenic easements. This design appeared to include that. It may very well be true that much as other innocuous structures, back when surveys were hand-drawn, they might not have shown things like retaining wall. Clearly, there was a driveway on the property when the house was built, and that's not shown here either. So I wouldn't discount everything that Alice said as impossible. But it is a conspicuous enough structure with the gravel inside that it seems a little bit more structure-like than just the retaining wall. If that needs to be reconstructed, if that can be done at a greater distance than the 7.5 feet that it is from the currently from the boundary of the scenic easement, I think that makes this a better application and reduces the likelihood of encroachment into that area. These are the bogs, these are the wettest areas of the wetland, and these were located by the surveyor. I'm pretty confident they weren't field delineated by any professional. This is just what conspicuously showed up as the lowest and wettest areas in the dune. My guess is this is also on the dunes at Napeague subdivision map as well. That's pretty much all I have to offer. I don't know if I can answer any questions from the board members. I certainly will.
You bring up the topic of, preserving the seed bank and whatnot in the native soils. And what do we do about protecting those soils, keeping them on the site? We condition that as part of the building protocol and approval. If it was to be
Pardon me.
that all those soils would be retained on site and reused as top dressing.
What we've seen, ideally, those soils should be stockpiled within the project limiting fence and the sediment control on site, and then pushed back into the area, most likely above the sanitary system.
Yeah, a lot of this site, when you visit it, is it's a very attractive site. I mean, it's a site where there's a lot of vegetation that seems to fit naturally into the dunescape we see around there. So it seemed like the most critical aspect of what we're looking at tonight is that the least amount of kind of corollary damage happens during any construction, and that all of these sands would be retained on the site, the soils would be retained, because as you point out, it's a whole different thing if you start disturbing that in the way in which we don't preserve those soils. So bringing that back in makes a lot of sense to me, that's a critical aspect of moving forward with this if we were to.
And that's been, again, excuse me, that's been recommended in the assessment.
Yeah.
Ms. Cooley has indicated that they don't really have any objection to the mitigation that's been recommended in the assessment.
And then your other comment about moving this wall in the back 7.5 feet to move it closer to 10 feet away, that's something that you're making a recommendation for.
The relationship of the wall to the structural integrity of the house is a little bit new to me. I don't know if maybe I missed that or it wasn't quite obvious in the file. What you see above grade anyway looks like just 6x6 or railroad tie retaining wall.
Yeah.
It's hard to envision the relationship between that and the structural integrity of the house. So yes, if that can be relocated, I thought it was, to the naked eye, above ground, it looks like a strictly ornamental retaining wall with gravel on the inside to kind of make somewhat of a makeshift patio or added pedestrian area, however you want to categorize it. Again, its relationship to the integrity of the foundation is surprising.
Okay, thanks. We can.
Just one question for Brian. Brian, obviously in properties like this, the project limiting fence is critical, right? And to limit the construction activity.
Correct.
Is that defined, or will be defined by you or planning department?
That's shown. I think I can show you a copy of it if you want to see it now.
It's in here. It's probably in the
It was produced with with the technical assessment, and I believe Alex has a copy of it as,
All right,
as
fine.
well.
Good. That's good.
Clarify some things, because I know that Alice had communicated Brian had some confusion. So we put together a presentation with Delandrio's photos and also ourselves just to make it a little bit clear. We agree in totality with Brian that minimum disruption on a dune area should be considered, which is why we didn't want to make anything larger than the footprint in terms of the structure of the home and not going larger or anything of that nature. Same reason we abandoned the proposed garage, which was in the area that planning board and had given when they thought that would be too much disruption. We just abandoned that from client. We do always, in the dunes, has to be project limit fencing. Any IA systems, all the soil should be there. As he said, the sun 7 goes in or 5 or what have you, and that natural soil should go back. So it's all there. It's dusted on top of the shallow drain field as well. So that should be native soil. That's all stored on the side with micro earth and et cetera. So that should be native. It should go back. It should not be extracted off site. Correct. And minimum disturbance of that. So going to this retaining wall, who's driving the?
What do you want?
Forward on that.
This is
The
the
northern,
survey.
we're looking at the northern wall, right?
You want to go back to?
The north wall, right?
Yeah, I just want to walk through because we made, do you mind going forward?
Go to the survey.
A little more. We discussed this a little more. Let's go to the one you were concerned with. A little more. That was just clarification for Alan. Okay, here we go. There we go. So this is how the home was constructed originally. The foundation was put in. This retaining wall that you're seeing the easement on this side, this retaining wall is put in with tiebacks and dead man. It structurally is called an anchored retaining wall. It's constructed by 8x8, 6x6s. These are 8x8s, which have what's called tiebacks and a dead man to hold it back. That's the old way that they did a retaining wall. We thought, we showed the client and said, hey, engineer says this is leaning, which means it's putting force here and it's pressing out, which is called shear force, which is what's happening. This soil is holding back this foundation. Under the crawl space, this is exposed. On the outside, it's not exposed. We have to have at least 4 feet of this underground, minimum to get out of the frost line. We saw the other one that was not. That's why we have degradation of the concrete. Rather than, Brian proposes moving this back. There would have to be one retaining wall built. You see in the second photo, one retaining wall built to hold back so it doesn't fall. Then we'd have to dig all of this out, pull it all out, and move it forward. We felt that was a larger disruption than just digging 2 feet out, putting a 1 foot foundation down and just shearing this wall up. If there's a big objection to it, we just abandon it and tell client, one day it will fail. Building department, one day it will fail. We don't know when. 1 day, 1 year, 10 years. We don't know, but it's going. Once it does fail, it is required to put this back. Otherwise, this all falls away. You have an exposed foundation. There's no pressure against it. I think the next one, if you go back. So that's where we thought the most minimum disruption was 2 feet out, dig along the wall, put the foundation and tie it back and hold it back. Rather than taking it all the way. Now, it wouldn't appease the setback issue. That could be done at a later time, but as Alice said, whatever trees are within that area would have to be removed, demolished, and et cetera.
Okay.
So if there's a large objection, we'll abandon that and just put everyone on notice, client, hey, maybe one day it goes away. It will fall down one day. Who knows when? Because that wood was soaked in arsenic, brown, deteriorating for 40 years, eventually it goes. That's best. Hopefully that clarifies.
Thank you. Any more, Brian? You're good?
I don't have much to add. I don't know if it's that important. Obviously, ideally, it would be better to have a little far greater separation of that retaining wall. But what's best for that area is whatever is the most minimally invasive, whatever is least disrupted.
Thank you.
Requires at least
Alice had the comment that if you were to move it closer to the building, we'd be taking out vegetation on this side as well. Is that something that you observed there as well?
I didn't, but again, the relationship of the of that retaining wall, which appeared to be more ornamental to me than anything else, its relationship to the foundation is a little bit new. I wasn't reviewing the application or in the field, salient to that.
Thank you.
Thank you.
There's a substantial row of pines on both sides. I think you can see them in some of Joan's photos, and I have photos myself. I apologize, I didn't print them, but anyone can go take a look. There's a lot there.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anybody in the public want to address this application? Matt, any callers?
0 callers. Thank you.
Thank you.
In the matter of 33 Mako LLC at 54 Sandcastle Lane, Amagansett, Suffolk County Tax Map number 300-152-02-28.13. I make a motion to close the public hearing and to close the record.
I'll second it.
Concur.
I concur as well. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next, we have Lisa Levitin, administrative application. Lisa Levitin at 3 Squires Path in East Hampton, Suffolk Tax Map number 300-157-3-7, and is to allow one-story addition to be constructed 13.7 feet from side yard lot line setbacks where 15 feet setback is required. Tyler?
One moment.
Chilly in here.
Okay. So this is actually a variance without a hearing request. This is for an as-built structure, right here. The original proposed, this is a one-story addition to an existing house. Originally, it was proposed to meet a 16-foot setback, 15 feet is required. But it was constructed 13.7 feet from the side yard lot line. So 1.3 foot variance, pretty minor, less than 10% variance. Again, as built, according to the applicant, it was a builder's error. So we felt comfortable bringing it to the board as a variance without a hearing, to see if you'd be willing to go forward with that.
How big is the property?
Lot area is 20,150 square feet, so half acre.
And what's next door?
I can pull up the aerial.
Private owner.
That's the property, obviously. Next door is here. I was in front of the board fairly recently, actually, this one. I think this was the house that,
Yeah, that's the house with the pond.
right, the pond, there's a big pond.
Right.
This structure was in front of the board. I forget for what reason. They ended up withdrawing the application, I believe.
Yeah, there was a pool house converted.
Yeah.
Oh, the pool house.
Yeah, whatever.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
It was partially a pool house, used to be a garage. And anyway, this is the house next door.
Just the reason for the request is,
It's just a variance request. Side yard lot line setback variance.
existing or,
Existing.
okay, it's existing. Okay.
Yes.
I would tend to agree with that then.
Yeah. Yeah. Buy the builder a new tape measure.
Anybody else have a problem with it going?
I don't have a problem.
That's not- Just another builder error.
No, I'm good. I'm good.
Okay,
I'm sorry.
okay.
I didn't say it. Sorry.
All right. Do we have to make a motion?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. Yes, we do on this one. That's right. Me.
What?
Oh, I got it. Before I make a motion in the application of Lisa Leviton, 3 Squires Path, East Hampton, Suffolk, tax map number 300-157-3-7 to allow the application to proceed as a variance without a hearing.
I'll second it.
That what it is?
I concur.
I'll concur.
Thank you. Next, we have post-hearing decisions. And first on the agenda is 175 Atlantic Avenue LLC at 175 Atlantic Avenue, Amagansett, Suffolk, tax map number 300-178-2-3. Size and location is 23,500 square foot at 175 Atlantic Avenue in Amagansett, Suffolk, tax map number 300-178-2-3. The description is to demolish the existing residence and accessory structures and to construct a new 3,240 square foot residence with 550 square foot storage area, a 450 square foot swimming pool, 808 square foot pool patio, new sanitary system, 1,174 square foot of driveway, 380 square foot of covered parking area, first and second story decking, and walkways on a parcel of land containing dune land and dune vegetation. The relief sought is a natural resources special permit pursuant to 255-420 of the East Hampton Town Code and any other relief necessary. The zoning district is A residence, AE flood zone, elevation 10, and the secret class is type 2. This would have been in Member McGivern's. So Joan, you want to lead us off?
The hearing was held on December 6th for NRSP variance permit. The lot is 0.53 acres. The survey that we referenced was from February 25th, 2020, from Stephen Baralensky, stamped, received July 8th, 22. The architectural plans were from Will Minier, dated 3/31/22, stamped, received 6/24/22. And the engineering report certification for health department purposes, Young and Young was stamped 6/24/22. And I want to point out that on it, the IAS system was designed to handle 6 bedrooms, and on the proposed structure, it was indicated that there would be 5 bedrooms. At the hearing, 6 people spoke against the proposal, and we also received 24 letters in opposition. I would say largely the letters related to objections to scale and massing, and that if the proposal didn't fit in with the community character, and that its placement adjacent to the public parking lot was very public and more impactful. Largely, that's because it's in the East Hampton scenic area of statewide significance, which I think, although the applicant had said that there are comparable properties up the street, I don't believe that the positions of the properties up the street are comparable, because those properties up the street don't sit in the East Hampton scenic area of statewide significance. And the second point I wanted to make was that I do feel very constrained by and mindful of the prior ZBA decision dated January 29th, 2019. And I have to ask, how different is this proposal really? 2 points, the decision made. One was that the majority found the environmental constraints on the property require a project with a smaller footprint and total lot coverage. The second finding of the ZBA decision was that, or a recommendation that a smaller design would limit the overall massing of the project in such an important scenic and historic area of town. When you look at the actual, the new proposal, I have to say that this revision is not truly smaller. It's not a smaller footprint, substantively speaking. The original proposal was for 3,790 square feet with a footprint approximately 1,800 square feet. I don't have it handy right now. Anyway, the new proposal was for 3,240 square feet with 550 square feet of storage. But that adds up to 3,790 square feet. So you have to ask, are they really changing the proposal in any significant way? They did eliminate an accessory structure and they shrunk the pool and patio and driveway down a bit. But in essence, the footprint remains the same. They did enlarge the scenic buffer somewhat, but again, the footprint remains the same. And the ZBA decision was very clear that they felt a smaller footprint and total coverage was what they would like to see. And so to a certain extent, they have come back with a larger scenic buffer, and they've shrunk the pool and patio and driveway down a bit, but in essence, the footprint is still too big. And the overall massing of the project remains to be a problem. So I'm inclined to deny this application.
Thank you. Ed? Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you, Joan. The previous application on the site was denied in 2019, which was mentioned by Joan. That decision factors into some of what we're going to be talking about this evening or responding to this evening. I first wanted to make a response to the applicant's statement of support, a 17-page document that came our way. And in there, there were several comments that I thought I would like to make mention of. It mentioned there that in May or June of 2002, the ZBA was amenable to the proposed reduced and amended project. Of course, that was not the case. So the ZBA did not renege on an agreement. We just didn't have one. Relative to the impact, that was a big comment in there that we were unduly swayed by the 24 letters, as was mentioned by my former board member, my fellow board member, not former. Relative to the impact that letters and comments from the public had and will have on the decision-making process relative to this application. The board receives many letters of support and also letters encouraging the denial of the applications we receive. Many are pertinent, some are not. At times, the public is not aware of the intricacies of town building codes, and their comments, although well-meaning, are not an important factor in helping this board reach a decision on certain occasions. At other times, the comments of neighbors and residents of withstanding relative to the application are important to understanding the impact that granting the application will have on the community. In this case, both types of public comment were received by this board. I believe that we have considered these comments carefully and have not allowed them to unduly sway the decisions that we have and will make concerning the application on the parcel located at 175 Atlantic Avenue in Amagansett. This new application is defended by the applicant as having considerably reduced the impact that the project will have environmentally on the site. But this application is similar to the 2019 determination with nearly the same exact residence. That's a quote from the TAM. Significantly, the 2019 determination suggested that a structure with a smaller footprint would be more appropriate for the lot. While changes have been proposed that would lessen the impact on the northern portion of the parcel, the initial complaint about the size and the massing of the house itself remain. This board recognizes the right of an applicant to build on this parcel, and a more appropriately sized structure might come in front of this board and be approved. But the fact remains that although the applicant's representatives have gone to great lengths to point out where similar structures to the one being proposed in this application exist within the extended surrounding community, those residents do not establish a precedent that would justify the construction of the structure proposed in this application. The immediate area on that portion of Atlantic area, as has been pointed out by others during this process, displays a character different from a good portion of the extended surrounding neighborhoods. Therefore, in considering NRSP standards 2255-5-40D, and I'm going to quote here, under compatibility, the proposed use will in fact be compatible with its surroundings and the character of the neighborhood, particularly with regard to visibility, scale, and overall appearance. This is what stuck out with me when reconsidering this. There were an effort made on the part of the applicant to reduce the impact on the environment. There was an accessory structure eliminated. However, the overall size of the structure and its footprint remained the same. With this in mind, while recognizing improvements made in the current application that would potentially lessen the overall environmental impact on the site, I find now, as a previous determination in 2019 did, that a structure with a smaller footprint and less massing is appropriate on this site. And so I am at this time denying this application.
Thank you. Terry?
Okay. Yeah, I was part of the original decision that we made back in 2019. And the entire scope and scale of that project, as we know, was denied. And this new proposal that came in that we had the hearing on back on December 6th, they made some improvements to it. The vegetative buffer, they did remove an accessory building by the pool and brought the pool in slightly and closer to the house itself. However, as was pointed out already by my fellow board members, the actual GFA really didn't go down. They changed from some living space in the proposal to some storage space. And I think it still has not gone far enough into pulling back the scale of the overall project, all items included, and the lot coverage. And I think that could be improved upon and needs to be improved upon. I think the scale that this, for NRSPs, this still does not meet 255-540 D, as mentioned already, and B, the lot area is sufficient, appropriate, and adequate for the use, as well as reasonably anticipated operation and expansion thereof. I know in the original hearing, we had a lot of concern actually about the clearing lines and that the clearing was too close to the proposed structure and wouldn't be possible to meet. And I don't know that that has changed so much, but I do think 255-540D and C, the proposed use will not prevent the orderly and reasonable use of adjacent properties, particularly where they're in a different district. It sort of relates to the LWRP. This is not in a historic district.
Mm-hmm.
However, when you look at that, the town factors in the structure and the styling of the, I don't want to talk about styling so much, but that the structure looks more in keeping with other properties in the neighborhood. I feel it does not do that and that it will stand out. I believe that does not in 255-540 also the nature of the use property will be in harmony and will promote the general purpose of this chapter as the same are set forth in 255-111. And in 255-111, I think it does not meet that on A, orderly growth, to guide and regulate the growth, development, and redevelopment of the town in accordance with the comprehensive plan and the long-range objectives, principles, goals set forth therein as beneficial to the interests of the people, the protection of neighborhoods to protect the established character of the neighborhoods, especially residential neighborhoods, and E, the preservation to promote the public in the preservation of prime agricultural and productive wetlands, protected barrier dunes, beaches, unique vegetation, important animal habitats, and other natural resources, and man-made features, which may not be applicable in this, for historical, environmental, cultural significance. I think in all those aspects, it does not meet the NRSP standards. And
That was 255-111 you were reading from?
255-111 A, B, and E, 255-540 A, B, and D. And also in here, what I mean, 255. Preservation of natural resources. Can you read that? No.
What do you want me to read?
Can you read that yellow? It's 255, no, 255-51, I think it is.
I think it is too.
Yeah, okay. And 255-5-51, D, preservation of natural resources. Again, all structures and uses other than coastal stress shall be located upland, shall be located. So no natural resource, feature, or system designated in 255-412 hereof will be diminished in size, polluted, degraded, or lost. If there is inadequate upland, minimal exceptions could be authorized, but only after alternative reasonable uses of the property are determined not to exist, and alternative designs entailing smaller buildings or structures, reduced yard or other setbacks, or diminished or reconfigured areas of use are determined not to be effective in preventing loss or of potential damage to designated natural features, or only such designs are found to be infeasible or unlawful, not unlawful. However, I think with all those combined, this does not meet the natural resources special permit standard. Still needs to be pulled back much on the scale of everything, the house and the property.
Thank you. Denise?
Okay. At the risk of repeating everything that's just been said, I think it's important to repeat what's just been said. This zoning, this is an AE flood zone with an elevation of 10, and most of the houses in this area predate zoning. The proposal has been changed and hasn't been really changed in any significant way. And in terms of the public does have the right to comment, and the comments are always taken quite seriously, but at the end of the day, the board decision comes from what the code standards are for an NRSP. There still remains to be a very aggressive redevelopment of a property that contains extensive dune land and vegetation. Demolition and clearing will take place. Excavation of dry walls, foundation walls will occur. There will be a significant amount of regrading to construct the house, so a significant amount of fill will be required to accommodate grade changes. I don't think the amount of clearing, disturbance, and size of the improvements are in keeping with the natural resource special standards. And I agree with incorporating let me refer to this number, 255-551, preservation of natural resources. All structures and uses other than coastal structures shall be located upland, shall not be located so that no natural resource, feature, or system hereof will be diminished in size, polluted, degraded, or lost, or placed in peril. Also, very significant to this application is D, compatibility. The site of the proposed use is a suitable one for the location of such a use in the town, and if sited at that location, the proposed use will be compatible with its surroundings and with the character of the neighborhood and of the community in general, particularly with regard to visibility, scale, and overall appearance. K, environmental protection. The natural characteristics of this site are such that the proposed use may be introduced there without undue disturbance or disruption of natural features, systems, or processes. I also, I think there can be more alternatives made in terms of this project. It also does not meet orderly growth. The construction protocol submitted notes that the driveway will be constructed, and there really is no, this is a very long driveway. There was no mention of a turnaround driveway for emergency vehicles such as fire and medical emergencies. I think this should have been addressed since the driveway is 1,784 square feet long. I think for the purposes we've all just stated, I'm in agreement with my fellow board members and feel that this application does not meet the standards for a natural resource special permit, and I'm denying this application.
Thank you. Well done. I think I'm going to be referring to as well town code in many areas. I do going to refer to the applicants. Let me come out with the proper wording for it. Statement in support received by the town on December 20th of 2022. As well as referring to the decision of the previous decision by the zoning board, which I feel was an important decision and should not be looked at lightly. And we should see if this application rises to the level of approval relative to that decision. When it comes to the town code, many of you referred to the town code, and I just want to say that the town code is very specific in its intent and its methods of protecting our natural resources, why it's protecting them, and how we're to protect them as a zoning board and oversee that. And as Member Berger pointed out in 255-111, you have A, orderly growth, protection of the neighborhoods. B, she read, E, preservation to promote in the public interest. And I'm going to add L, the aesthetic attributes to perpetuate and enhance areas of natural beauty, to retain outstanding water views and other open vistas available to residents and visitors, and to perpetuate generally those aesthetic attributes and amenities which not only please the eye, but which together are the essence of a nationally recognized character of the town. Now, as in the first determination of the zoning board, we spend time dealing with this in this very specific area. When we talk about the life-saving stations, the reserve across the way, the historic district down the road, this particular area, I think it is the town's intent to protect those aesthetic attributes. Unlike with the letter of the memorandum of support by the applicant, that kind of diminishes the parking lots in the public, even though they're not property owners. It is the town's intent, I believe, to protect these natural vistas and view. And I think that agree that the massing of this particular house has not been reduced drastically to maintain those characteristics of this neighborhood. I think in terms of I agree also with the assessments on the natural resources. I think the first determination's intent was to bring down the massing of the structure so that we can protect more of the dune structures in this very sensitive area, and they did not rise to that level. In 255-410, the regulations in this article are adopted to protect and perpetuate some of the town's most important natural resources. Rapid growth and development have encroached upon or despoiled many of the town's wetlands, watercourses, tidal waters, natural drainage areas, watersheds, and water recharge areas, as well as its beaches, dunes, bluffs, and other coastal features. These natural resources, which are threatened by the town's growth, constitute important physical, social, scenic, aesthetic, recreational, and economic attributes of the town. The provisions of this article are therefore designed to preserve and maintain these natural resources by minimizing their disturbance. Such protection will benefit the town and its people in many ways, among which are the following. E, preservation of the town's beaches, dunes, bluff, wetlands. No special permit shall be granted unless, and we've gone through some of those standards on the natural resources. This property is sensitive. It's got dune vegetation on it. It was the decision of the ZBA, the previous ZBA, although the applicant is attempting to pull back some of those and preserve some of the clearing limits on the property. I think the house can be drastically reduced to preserve more of that dunescape as intended by the zoning board's determination. Alternative reasonable uses of the property are determined not to exist. And I don't think we've reached that threshold at this point.
It's not just the house. For me, it's not just the house.
It's the
entire
overall,
property above it,
it's
the
everything,
pool.
yeah.
Patio, yep.
You know, I have another comment in that, you know, the document that they submitted to us. It's called Statement in Support of the Application. They list in the Exhibit A, like a whole bunch of properties. I don't know how many exactly, of approvals that we have given to other properties.
But none of
And
them
as
are
we
in the
know-
historic scenic easement. I mean,
Well,
scenic,
they're all different flavors, but, you
Right.
know, they're doing this like it's a precedent that we've set. And as we know, each application we have is reviewed individually on that application's benefits. So although, yeah, we've approved a bunch, and I bet we could find equally those that we have not approved in
but
this
if,
area.
if you look
Some
at
of
them,
this is not in that area, in that specific
Right.
area. It covers all parts of.
they're not in
and
the
the
scenic
beaches
area of
and-
statewide significance.
That's true too. Yes.
That's a good point.
Yeah.
We recently denied an application on Gerard Drive for the very same reason. I want to preserve some of the decisions that, again, from the original decision. I think it's important to lay out here the importance of the life-saving station, and some of the statements in that decision, I think should be held here. There's one other point I want to bring out too, when in the memorandum of support from the applicant refers to a potential or possible prejudice because the developer became known, a specific developer became known. I can tell you, I have no prejudice on that. I can pull them. I'm sure we can pull the board if we should, if anybody is viewing that as part of why you're making this decision. I'm sure we're not. It is known that there is a developer, but inconsequential to our decision. I think
on that point, if you don't mind me interrupting, Mr. Chair, I think the point that was made by the member Berger, and that is that every application that comes in front of us gets reviewed on its own merit. And if any individual comes in front of us, I don't think that's ever been a factor in our decision-making. We rely on code, we rely on what we see are the individual conditions on that site. So I took that also to be an assessment on their part that was totally unfounded. And I don't think there's not only any evidence of it, but I don't think any of us react to who's standing in front of us. I think we react to the application.
I also agree with you that this board is not reneging on a previous settlement agreement. I think that the facts that were before us got vetted out during the hearing process. We got to see it. We got to chew on it. And when we see that they're reducing maybe a GFA, but not reducing the footprint, as Member McGivern pointed out, and not reduce the massing, it lightens what we see as a board and how it relates to the town code and the natural resources permit standards. So with that, I vote to deny it as well. All right, good. Council?
Council's got a lot to deal with.
Can you draw the inference one more time about why the historic sites, like the life saving station, are affecting the bill would affect, how those affect each other for the natural permit purpose? Just the NSRP. How are you guys drawing that together? How is one connected to the other? Saying that its historic sites are one of the decisions based on, I'm assuming, compatibility. Is that where you're putting that into?
I don't know if I'm reconnecting. You're saying we're connecting the historic to the NRSP? I don't think we're doing that as a
No, I'm
board.
not.
What was the point of bringing up the life station, like the life stations and the surrounding?
Well, it defines the character of the neighborhood. I think that's another factor of this application.
And it is in a
I don't
historic
think that's
district across the
changed in
street.
anything. The neighborhood is still the neighborhood. It's still defined by beach cottages that are dunes or intermingling. If you drive all behind, what is it, Treasure Island Drive or Beach Lane or whatever, they're all tiny little beach cottages that are there that have existed, which define the character of the neighborhood. So I don't think that's changed from even our discussions on the original application.
But this particular area
540
has a
nature
scenic
of use,
vista.
where it
Let her
states,
get this in.
sorry, we're both
Go ahead,
talking.
Jerry. No, you,
255 540A, nature of use, said the use will propose will be in harmony with and promote the general purposes of this chapter as the same are set forth in 255 111, and 111 is applicable in that case for the protection of neighborhoods, B, to protect established characters of neighborhoods, especially residential, social, and economic well-being of those neighborhoods and the orderly growth. And all of that, I think, relates into the LWRP also, where the town, that property is with residential lots stuck in three sides. It's parks and conservation. And, it's just too much there. They're not doing enough to preserve that whole character.
And then just going back to the scaling and massing issue, because we heard a lot about that from each board member. Teresa, you're the first one that brought up it goes beyond the house itself. Can you explain that a little bit more in detail?
There's a pool. There's a big pool, and originally they did have an accessory structure by that pool. They made the pool somewhat smaller, and they took away the accessory structure, and they pulled in, I think, some of the patio a little bit to get closer to the house. But I think they could do better on that. That can move even closer, bringing it into the lot coverage. And then the proposed revegetation or the scenic easement that they were proposing, which is good, that was an improvement, could be going all across that area too.
The pool is new. It's not,
there's no pool there today.
yeah, there's no, right.
And they made it small. I forget what the original size was, but they brought it down to about 850 feet, I think it is.
Yeah, from 1,300.
450 foot, 808 square feet of patio. Originally, it was over 1,000 patio, and the pool, I forget, I don't know how much larger the first time, but I think it's still a large pool on a property that doesn't have a pool today.
There are, I'm going to refer to some of the decision of the previous decision, and I think should be maintained within this new one, and that is the board finds that the lot area is not sufficient, appropriate or adequate for the proposed improvements, although the proposed project meets the total lot coverage and building coverage requirements of the town code. The majority finds that the environmental constraints of the property require a project with a much smaller footprint and a total lot coverage. This property has extensive dune vegetation and topography and will be greatly impacted by the construction. Therefore, any development on the property should minimize the total lot coverage and to the biggest extent possible. The board finds this proposed total lot coverage exceeds the constraints of this environmentally sensitive lot. And I'm saying that, okay, they pulled back some of the stuff, but taking GFA out of the inside of the house, but not the footprint or the massing of the house doesn't cut it to this point. And then There's another,
Well, they took the GFA, but they didn't change the footprint. The footprint stayed the same.
correct. Another one, the majority of the board finds that the use in the proposed application will not maintain the established character of the neighborhood, nor does it contribute to the orderly growth of the neighborhood as required pursuant to 255-111. The subject parcel finds itself surrounded on two sides by the parking lot, one for the busiest beaches in the town of East Hampton, and therefore is a high-profile location. Across the street from the parcel is largely located locally and federally preserved dune habitat, along with the recently restored Amagansett Life Saving Station. The parcel is located within East Hampton's scenic area of statewide. We've reiterated these issues this evening.
Yeah.
And then the board finds that the sprawling design of the project and its impacts on the native vegetation and dune land is contradictory to the recommendation of the SOS guidelines. I don't think that's changed.
I agree.
Better. Got it.
Thank you. Okay, next we have Daniel Borum, 14 Ocean View Terrace in Montauk, Suffolk, tax map number 300-49-6-24, to allow an existing 49 square foot hot tub to remain 18.2 feet from the side yard lot lines where a 20-foot setback is required. I think Tyler's going to walk us through this. This was a variance without a hearing.
Yes, this is a variance without a hearing. The board already okayed. Their notice period is up. This was for this hot tub to remain 18.2 feet from the side yard lot line. Technically, it's a swimming pool. It's greater than 6 feet. So anything greater than 6 feet is no longer a hot tub. It's considered a swimming pool and needs to meet your standard 20-foot side yard setbacks rather than a 10-foot setback. It's over a mostly improved area. 1.8 foot side yard setback variance, fairly minimal. The board didn't have any concerns. We didn't receive any public comments. So I think it's fairly straightforward at this point.
I'm fine with this.
Oh, okay.
I am too.
Yeah, me too.
I'm fine with it.
I'm
Oh,
fine.
was this Montauk?
Yeah, this is Montauk. Somebody want to
Okay.
make an
All right. So we have to make a
motion to?
motion?
Are we making a motion? Is that
Is
it?
there-
Or is there going to be a written?
We don't need to. We don't need to make
We
a
don't need a
motion.
motion?
This is going to be a resolution.
Right.
Resolution.
Oh, okay.
You're
This will be
approving
a
a
res- yeah.
variance without a hearing.
Yeah, okay.
Okay, next we have Kara Britton Bistry and Montauk Sunset Cottages LLC at 31 and 41 East Lake Drive, Montauk, Suffolk tax map number 300-20-2-13.1 and 13.2. The size and location is 3.81 acres at 31 and 41 East Lake Drive, Montauk. Inscription is to demolish all existing improvements and reconstruct 10 resort buildings, cottages, relocate 4 of them, construct a new 6,737 square foot, 2-story residence, 2 sanitary systems, a 16 by 56 swimming pool, accessory buildings, grass paver, parking stalls, and the establishment of a grass vehicular path to the shoreline on a parcel of land containing tidal wetlands, coastal bluffs, beaches, and located within the town's jurisdiction of freshwater wetlands. The relief sought is a natural resources special permit pursuant to 255-420 and variances from 255-430 and 255-440 of the town code. Bluff crest setbacks variances of 37 feet, 41.5 feet are required to allow combined cottages 2, 4, 5, and its associated decking to be located 63 feet and 59.5 feet respectively from the coastal bluff crest where 100-foot setback is required. The same building requires wetland setback variances of 25 and 30 feet for the cottage and deck to be located 75 and 70 feet respectively from tidal wetlands where a 100-foot setback is required. Cottage 12 also requires a 5-foot wetland setback variance to reduce the freshwater wetland setback of the deck from 37 feet to approximately 32 foot from wetlands. Zoning district is A residence, VE, elevation 10, velocity, and X flood zone. Secret class is unlisted.
Mr. Chairman, I'm going to recuse myself from this
Okay,
decision.
thank you. Then I think we can go start with member Berger
Yeah,
when he
after he leaves the room.
leaves the room.
Okay. You read all of that off.
It's a
That's great.
big
But
read.
that's good because I had the wrong TAM in front of me. to
I
start
still
with.
get mixed up with the cottage numbers, as Brian
Oh, I
did too.
I had that down pat. I hope I still do. Okay. This hearing was on November 15th of 2022. And the survey. Sorry, I don't have, so. Need the survey.
Uh-oh.
I've got a big file. It's here somewhere. Oh, here it is. Here it
November
is.
29th, right?
Okay. Hang on. Survey is dated. September 20th, 2022 for a revised sanitary, which we received on October 4th, 2022. Okay, so this is Montauk Sunset Cottages at, I don't, it's not 31 Eastlake Drive, I think it's 41 Eastlake Drive. 31 and 41, 31 and 41. And we also have a Delandro and Andrews updated septic plan. It was
Dated September 15th,
September
2022.
15th, 2022, that we also received October 4th, 2022. This is a property, it's in a residential zone. It's a number of cottages that the applicant is looking, many of them, is, if you remember from the hearing, some were in disrepair. And there are various portions of the property that was in disrepair. And this proposal is to put a house, the house and a couple of the structures are out of our jurisdiction entirely for this project. The new residence and some of the existing structures on the south portion of the property. And if you remember, we had Kez LLC, which is a property directly to the south of this. And those structures and the residents are at the southern, more southern portion of that property. The house actually is kind of more in the middle, south to the middle. And there's a proposed pavilion and a couple of storage areas. And all of that is out of our jurisdiction. So what you did read off is the variances, and now I moved the page. The bottom line is, I think with all the work that's being done on this property and the cottages, that the project does meet the variance standards. They've made some slight improvements, and I thank the planner for going through all this for a long period of time. First, the planning board had this project for a long period of time also. And I believe the variances are as they were written in the notice that you read off. So I don't know if you want me to repeat all those.
Have to. I think that's on the record.
I am looking to approve all of those. The variances related to those cottages. It was 245. 245 is where they're taking two of the cottages that exist today, and they're going to combine it with cottage 2. So they're moving that south, which takes it away from the more northerly property line where there are wetlands, and the property to the north of this property is owned by the town of East Hampton. So they're making improvements on the setbacks there. Setbacks are greater from the wetlands to the north. And on cottage 12, that was the other one, same kind of concept, the moving it slightly so that the setbacks again are reduced. Setbacks are increased, rather, increased. And then there was the one cottage where they're actually going to take a concrete deck attached and remove that, and they want to put the deck on the other
9 and 10.
decreased setback from the wetland. But I think overall, all of this is good. They have an extensive revegetation plan, re-landscaping plan, which was actually listed as stellar by the planner. In one cottage needed the Bluff Crest variance, that's number one. This one was in disrepair also. And I believe even that they're going to revegetate also from whatever, when that cottage is redone. And that too, have the approving the variance for that. Cottage number one. That one is actually being renovated in kind. And there are a couple of other cottages that are being renovated in kind, so there was really no change directly. I feel it does meet the natural resource special permits also because of the revegetation. There was one concern, well, a couple of concerns. Originally, they were proposing a 6-foot wide vehicle path down on the southern portion of the property where there was a remnants of an asphalt road that went down for a long period of time. They've modified that, and the 6-foot wide path is going to basically end near out of our jurisdiction on the southeastern portion of that. And they want to reestablish a grass walkway down to the shoreline of the beach. They've indicated they want 6 feet, but I know our board, our policy is that it would be a 4-foot walkway. They said they will be vegetating that with grass, I assume beach grasses, and maintaining that. So I too think that will conform to the natural resources special permits of the coastal setbacks. And the one thing I did want to bring up, and so I'm going to approve this project and the NRSP. Now, in the file, there was some documents sent in about the bulkhead and the shoreline. And originally, they were looking to redo that. At the time of our hearing, they had removed that portion of the project from our file, from our application, at least for now. And I do want to make it clear in our statement, I'd like to put something into this decision, this determination that indicates that the NRSP that we are giving tonight, if we give it, I'm only one person, that it's absolutely does not cover anything related to the bulkhead and the other part of that project that was removed from this one, from this application at this time.
Fair point. So just to clarify from the drawings that were submitted, I guess, yeah,
Yeah, there was an application.
So it does
and,
not, it
yeah, I
does
don't
not
want any
address.
Not part of the
confusion.
application.
So, yeah, they would have to come back to us in entirety.
Yes, and
Yeah.
if there's any modification to this project, it has to come back to us.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm just a little concerned because they're listing the underwater land, the
Yeah,
depths
yeah.
and the bulkhead and all that. And there was a report from, I believe it was First Coastal, which, we are just to ignore.
That's a very good point.
And anyway,
I think they
but
formally withdrew it.
They
but-
verbally withdrew it, but if you look at the survey and it has all that information, we know nothing
Just
ever
wanted
gets
clear she's
confused.
not part of the
wanna know
project.
it's
Right.
there.
Okay, Denise?
So can I just confirm, Teresa, are you saying that the walkway, you want the walkway to be 4 feet of grass, not 6 feet?
4 feet, yeah.
Okay, so you're gonna limit the walkway to 4 feet?
Yeah.
Approving
that's
it with limiting it to
typically
4
what
feet?
we do with our policy, yeah.
Sure.
Okay, my turn. The applicant, I think, has worked with the planning department, making this a better project than what was originally proposed. Cottage 11 is being shifted in its orientation, increasing the wetland setback from about 39 to 43.8 feet. Cottage 12 is being shifted as well, increasing the setback to the wetland and would now be located 135 feet from tidal wetlands to the west. Cottage 4 and 5 is probably the most, the double cottage is the most substantial change since it will be combining Unit 2. And the results creates a triple cottage and has reduced the setback to the wetlands to the bluff crest to 57.7 feet and 52.2 feet respectively, all, positive alterations. The planning department is satisfied with the unit relocations. The revegetation plan for areas within the jurisdiction of NRSP shall be comprised of predominantly species native to Montauk and be arranged to clearly demarcate the boundaries of the revegetated and cleared areas. All of the measures to minimize environmental impact and preservation of existing native plantings as outlined in the construction methodology report dated received March 15th should be part of this board's condition of approval. Any modifications to this project during construction for any reason shall come back to this board for their review. I think every effort has been made to manage and nurture the enhancement of this site, and I do believe it is in keeping with NRSP standards and variance standards as outlined in 255-420 NRSP and 255-440 coastal setbacks and 255-430 minimum wetland setbacks. And for these reasons, I am in favor of approving this application.
Thank you. Joan?
First of all, I'm in favor of approving the application and mindful that it's late. I wanted to emphasize a couple of things, just to note that even though it seems like a very large project, as Member Berger noted, the new residents, sanitary systems, parking for the motel units, new residents, and 2 of the accessory structures are beyond proposed NRSP jurisdiction. And also to note that so that's out of our jurisdiction, and the reconstruction and enlargement of the residence and accessory structures, the swimming pool, the cabana, et cetera, are permitted uses under a residential zoning district. And although the motel use is prohibited under a residential district, the reconstruction of the existing motel units is not prohibited if the extent of nonconformity is not increased. So I guess just reiterate, this is a proposal that they could have done very little with and built as of right if they were replacing in kind. So they've given a lot of thought to improving the property. I do think they'll be good stewards of the land. I wanted to note that there were at least 2 letters in support of the project from the public supporting its restoration. And that I support all the recommended project conditions that are set forth in the TAM. So I'm going to approve this application.
Thank you. I agree. I really don't have much to add to this. They are adding a new large septic system in the middle, and there's another small one related to the pool, something or whatever, smaller business, but it's all going to be updated, upgraded. I think that even the walkway, as much as I'd like to see a 4-foot, I don't think we have a nexus to reduce it. I think by right they have that. They are reducing they are removing the concrete and improving the environmental impact on it. So I don't know if I agree with restricting it down to 4 feet, although I wouldn't mind seeing it, but I personally don't think we can make that stretch. So I don't know where we stand with that.
Because of the old asphalt,
Yeah, they are improving the environmental conditions on it and grassing it. I'm concerned that they don't.
They might still
they
want to
don't
drive
fertilize
on it,
but
though.
they had.
according to the landscaping
Yeah.
plan and Vina
Well, they had
Van plan,
Edwina Van Gaal there, and that she's,
preservative.
yeah.
I found the sheet with the increases in the setbacks, if you want me to read that.
No, you can
You
give it to
got
me
it?
later. Yeah, it's probably
Yeah,
part of the record.
Okay,
anyway.
okay.
Did you, I think I didn't include in the record, can you include a reference to the landscaping plan?
Yeah, is that the?
Yeah, you got that, right?
Yeah, that's.
Oh,
the
okay.
Well,
All right.
Construction methodology report. Is that the
Some
same thing?
No, there was-
Summerhill Landscapes.
That's it.
L01.
So just so I know, what are we doing with the 6 feet? Are we leaving it or?
I don't feel strongly.
I hear what you're saying. I guess 6.
Good, I think that's. Call Ed back
Probably
in.
regret it. What?
You'll be able to see tonight, right?
All right. Decisions. We have no extensions of time. We have draft minutes of January 17th, 2023.
Oh, you know, I didn't even look at them. had
So we can
eight-
table them to next week.
Table them.
We have resolutions. First resolution is Love Shack LLC at 73 Louse Point Road, Spring, Suffolk, tax map number 383-3-11.1. Council.
So this was relief for a natural resource special permit pursuant to the East Hampton Town Code. And it was to reconstruct and in place an in-kind 205 linear feet of legal existing bulkhead on a parcel that contained wetlands and surfaces. The board found in this case that the proposed project meets all the required setbacks, does not require any variances, has been modified to limit clearing on the property, as well as a construction protocol had been submitted to the record indicating less of a disturbance to the natural resources on the property. There was no community outreach from adjacent property owners or the public, and no written submissions opposing the project. Furthermore, the board found that the benefits to the applicant and the surrounding environment outweighed any possible detriment which the project may cause to neighboring properties on the town as a whole. Because of that, it was the majority of the board concurred. Chairperson Roy was absent that night. So all other members that were present did vote in favor of the application.
Ready for a motion?
Sure.
In the matter of the application of Love Shack LLC, 73 Louse Point Road in Springs, Suffolk County Tax Map number 300-83-3-11.1, I make a motion, we approve the determination as written.
Second.
I concur.
I abstain. Thank you. Next, we have Rose Melandritz at 48 Treasure Island Drive in Amagansett, Suffolk, tax map number 300-175-5-20.
This was a request for a natural resource special permit and along with 3 variances on this application. It was to allow an approximate 32 square foot shed and concrete pad to remain within side yard line setbacks and outside of the town's pyramid regulations, and to allow existing clearing on the parcel to remain with the installation of gravel areas, paper walkways, fencing on the land area containing dune vegetation. This was the subject parcel in this one was extremely constrained. It was by small in size, already near the lot and total lot coverage maximums. The clearing had gone beyond the approval of the 2008 certificate of occupancy, where it appears that 1,700 square feet of vegetation had existed. The shed is in such close proximity to the neighboring properties that no buffers could be added for additional screening, and the parcel is already constrained with the amount of hard structures along the residence. The lot is 100% cleared of natural vegetation. There's no feasible way to revegetate the parcel or establish buffer yards. Good night. Along with, there was other locations that the shed could be in a more conforming spot, even though a variance may have been needed or requested for those. The applicant is essentially seeking an approximate 99% relaxation of the town code, which by itself is significant. As such, the work was denied by the town board, with member Severance being absent that night.
By the town board?
Oh my God, by the zoning board.
We got a promotion.
I don't want that promotion.
Didn't even make the run for election. Didn't even get elected. Who's making a motion?
In the matter of Rose Malandretz, 48 Treasure Island Drive, Amagansett, Suffolk County Tax Map Number 300-175-5-20, I make a motion to approve the resolution as written.
I'll second it.
Concur.
Abstain.
I concur. Thank you. Next, we have Maurice Iudicone at 187 Soundview Avenue, Montauk, Suffolk, tax map number 300-3-1-1.2.
Isn't there an outstanding question on that?
Maurice? Not that I'm aware of.
You sent an email.
Oh, about the,
About
About the
the,
surveys?
when,
about the
about the time to get the
building permit
permit.
and C of O.
It was left indefinite in the
Oh,
tab.
yes, it was. It was.
And
Um,
Brian had commented on that, so can we discuss that?
Yes.
It sounds like maybe.
I was
it
absent,
eggs.
so.
We should say 1 year because of the volatility of that area, as was brought up in Brian's
Yeah,
email.
I think that's a good recommendation.
I agree.
Yeah, I'll agree with that.
Okay, so I'm going to change D on the written one that you guys saw to 1 year. Currently, it says the timeframes to obtain the building permit shall be discussed by the board members. So it has been discussed, and I'm going to change that to 1 year.
1 year for the
Okay.
permit and then
So-
what, 1 year for the C of O? Is that
So we can make a motion with the pending,
Yeah, exactly.
pending
as
change.
amended? Or
Yeah,
well,
no, it's not even has to be
even as-
amended.
yeah,
'Cause I'll just
yeah.
essentially edit it before I get it
Okay.
to Laura tomorrow.
We're just going to
Um,
accept the determination.
With
As amended.
As amended.
As-
Okay, then in the case of Maurice Uticone at 184 Soundview Avenue, Montauk, Suffolk County Tax Map 300-003-01-1.2, I would like to make a motion to accept the determination as amended.
And all you guys agreed that were there.
All agreed.
Yes.
Yes.
Then
Sure.
Oh, that was there.
Denise was
I
absent
concur.
again.
She can agree to.
Concur.
I mean,
I
can I
concur.
concur? No, I was
Yeah,
absent.
you're
so
absent.
Oh,
Yeah.
I have to-
okay.
Kevin Bishop, 21 Old Stone Highway Springs, Suffolk, tax map number 300-63-5-10.
So this is an amended determination, and this is very small changes. The applicant got the decision as written, and he wanted to, for clarity purposes, for there to be 2 AC units documented instead of the one
Oh,
that was
right.
referenced in the decision. As well as there was a little discrepancy, but based on the surveys that you guys saw, there is no discrepancy. However, after talking to Tyler, we went back and forth and we changed the language so that it now reads that they shall build the deck no larger than 36 square feet, which takes in the gross dimensions of the deck, I guess, not just like the length of it.
Why does Tyler look confused?
Yes, it's the square
I had
footage.
8
The
square
notice,
feet.
the notice was correct.
It's what appears
Yeah.
on the survey.
The notice,
It is.
the notice was for 27 or whatever square feet. When the assessment was originally written, it said 8 feet because it was that was a length number. But the
Poor guy.
notice was correct in front of you by the when you heard the application.
So those are the only 2 items that are clarified within the.
It
amended
makes
determination.
sense. It's fine.
Okay, so in the matter of Kevin Bishop, 21 Old Stone Highway Springs, Suffolk County Tax Map Number 300-63-5-10, I make a motion, we approve the determination as amended.
Second.
Concur.
I'll concur.
I concur. Next, we have Garrett McGinnis at 142 South Fairview Avenue in Montauk, Suffolk, tax map number 300-28-5-14.1.
This is another amended determination. There was some clarity issues on regarding whether or not the clearing that was already existing would be allowed with the denial of the pool. They were willing to revegetate the area if they got the pool, but we denied the pool in this application and then never really addressed whether or not the clearing after sending this around to the zoning board, it was the intent of the zoning board to allow the existing clearing to remain without the granting of the pool. So that's the clarification within the amended determination.
Okay. So for Garrett McGinnis at 142 South Fairview Avenue in Montauk, tax map 300-028-05-14.1. Make a motion to approve the amended determination as written, as amended.
Second.
I concur.
I concur.
I concur as well. Thank you. Vice Chair.
Then I'd like to make a motion to close the Town of East Hampton Zoning Board of Appeals meeting, public hearing and work session for January 24th, 2023 at 9:39 PM.
Second.
Concur. Nobody wants to go home.
Thank you.